Huzzah! I think I did that correctly. Okay, anyway. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Oh, the boys are back. How are you guys?
Oh, some Diablo 2. Wow.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which character? I can't even see.
I'm playing a barbarian.
Ah. Awful.
Thanks for being here, fellas. Much appreciated. Unfortunately, yes, I can hear you. You are. Hold on, let me pause the sweet tunes. Sorry.
No, awful.
Forgive me, Corey. Sorry.
Something's maybe I might be quiet too. I know it's a common issue with this one, but something's wrong. You're using the wrong mic, or something's wrong with it.
Am I using the wrong mic?
You sound a little bit louder than usual and doesn't sound the same. Doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't sound the same.
Okay, hold on.
Sounds very different on my end.
Okay, sorry. 1 second. Default mic. Testing. Is this better?
It sounds about the same, but again, it doesn't sound bad. Just
testing.
Still about the same.
It sounds echoey as fuck. Like a cheap mic.
Huh. I don't know. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna
hold on. Maybe if you're using a mic that has settings for condenser and then omnidirectional, maybe you accidentally hit the area condenser instead of omnidirectional. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like you're using the same mic, but that you opened it up to the whole room instead of in like a shape towards your face.
Could be that, yeah.
Did everybody buy their overpriced turkeys? Since
Are they overpriced?
Probably.
Or is that just inflation?
I'm pretty sure. Well, no, from what I understand, well, I'm sure there's the inflation aspect. Although, well, according to Trump, there is no cost of living crisis, right? I mean, prices are always going down constantly. Even though I believe he rolled back tariffs on quite a few goods, but that's neither here nor there. But from what I understand, as a result of not only this, but I think one of the factors is as a result of avian influenza, they've had to cull more birds than usual, and so there's less supply than expected.
Listen, the avian flus that happen like damn near seasonally now, I have a giant gripe with the way the government handles this, because it overwhelmingly is designed to. It's way too keyed towards safety, and it's one of the examples of how socialism and bad government really fucks up the market. Because here's the thing: if you are a farmer and one of your birds gets infected, there's one of two things that you can do. You can quarantine that bird, track where they were, attempt to separate them and anyone that may have been exposed, and then what you can do is you can jump through government hoops, pay for inspections, pay for people to come out, pay, and wait before your goods can go back on the market, right? And then you can sell, the remainder of now that you've proven essentially that your birds aren't infected. The other option that you can do is you can cull every single bird that is anywhere near that bird whatsoever. And then it's not the federal government usually, though you can get aid from the federal government. State governments will then pay with tax money for the fact that you were forced to cull your birds. And so it is the incentive structure for nearly every farmer is to just cull way more than they actually need to cull, which reduces the supply of goods in the market, and then take tax dollars and then give it to them as relief. So the problem here is that every time that there's a breakout of like some bird flu or influenza or whatever, especially and this is especially problematic if it's zoonotic and it like jumps to like one of the farmers, like the insane loops
That's
that
scary.
like you have to go through the CDC. And so what ends up happening is they just kill everything, massively reduce the supply, and then on top of that, our tax dollars are taken away from us and given to these farmers, and then prices go up. But if they just got rid of all of this relief situation and let the fucking market handle this, even if they kept the what I would consider to be burdensome regulatory hoops that they'd have to go through, you would still not see such a drastic decrease in the supply of these goods, and you wouldn't see the price get inflated to such a degree. And it was a major part of the problem when the price of eggs during the Biden administration. Everybody wanted to blame Trump, for the COVID relief, or Biden because of the price of eggs, etc. But overwhelmingly, it was that we had a bird influenza breakout, and that the government was just shucking out money left and right for farmers to kill like half or more of their entire livestock, instead of them trying to quarantine isolated areas and then go through testing and all of these other things to ensure that there was no longer an outbreak on the farm.
Well, so and just to clarify, is your it sounds like, or what I understood is like your issue is not with the culling, just like
1 second. Testing. Does that sound any different?
That sounds a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds a little better. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it wasn't like you're against the government relief, as in pretty much them being sort of like reimbursed for the culling.
I'm against the government. Like, I understand the desire the socialist desire to protect the industry from the natural market, right? And to a certain extent, this does protect price a little bit,
Turkeys are
because
cheaper, by the
then
way.
farmers don't have to calculate the cost of potential disease or things like that in selling of it. But of course, that money, it's because there is money available, and that money comes from somewhere, which means there's inflation in the overall market, right? So it would still be better even if eggs were slightly more expensive, because everything else would be cheaper to a larger degree. But yeah, I'm not against culling. Like, I understand that like you need to cull certain populations. What I'm saying is that the incentive, because of that money, it's a carrot and a stick at the same time, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you that
There's
like,
a stick.
they're
of, like,
incentivized
and
to cull.
right. Yeah, like there's an insane amount of hoops to go through to be able to sell, your goods again. Maybe you think that's good, maybe you don't. I'm not a fucking, like, I don't have a degree in
Birds.
you
don't have a bird degree?
Well, no, there's a specific type of degree in agriculture.
I'm sure there
right?
is. Yes, I'm sure there's a specialty.
Like Virginia Tech, places like that, right? Like certain tech institutes and engineering schools that deal specifically with farms and agriculture. I'm not super knowledgeable in just how bad that stick is. Obviously my intuition is that it's more than it needs to be, but maybe it's an appropriate amount.
Yeah.
But even if we take that out, the other incentive is, okay, you can go through all these hoops that are going to cost you a bunch of money, or you can just get free money from the government if you kill what is obviously more birds than is necessary. And so we get taxed so that birds can be culled to a higher degree than is necessary.
Well, I just don't know. I don't know how feasible it is to like
Trump,
quarantine.
the price goes down.
Well, wait. I mean,
price
so
is down
the
16% this year.
So the obvious like piece of this that I don't know why you're kind of like not talking about, it's just the main thing is to try to prevent people from dying from zoonotic diseases, right? And we just had like this pretty big one. I forget what it was called, but I think it came out of like Italy.
I heard something in the news about that. Yeah.
And a couple of people.
I'm not glazing over that. I'm not glazing over that at all, right? I even specifically stated,
he wants to call the people too if they get infected.
I specifically stated that I don't have a degree in this, that it's not my area of expertise, and maybe the government hoops that you have to go through are the appropriate amount of hoops to ensure the safety of the food. What I'm saying is that there is a perverse incentive to not go through all of those bureaucratic processes, even if they are per se, is exactly up to the standard that they need to be, and to simply kill birds so that you can get relief money, because that's the cheaper option for you as an individual farmer. I did not make the claim in any way, shape, or form that like it's bad to like stop zoonotic viruses from
No,
spreading.
no, no. I'm just
or anything
if
like that.
If it's cheaper for the farmer, I don't understand. I've spent zero time on this analysis, so this could be really easy to answer, but I don't understand why it would be obvious that the consumer cost would be higher if it's a cheaper recourse for the farmer, right? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, right? Like if this option isn't available and the stick in this scenario is, and let's
Mhm.
assume
Yeah.
to steelman the position, this is like a perfect amount of government like regulation on
Just
this, right?
hit
Like
the nail on the head,
any less than
exactly.
this, right?
Thread the
They're
needle.
like we're just assuming that it's perfect, right?
Mhm.
Even if I grant you that, right? Then
Okay.
obviously there would be an increased price on eggs, chickens, cattle, whatever
Mhm.
byproducts because this other option isn't available.
Yeah.
My problem, right, is that there is what we are doing is we are artificially reducing the supply in the hopes that we can artificially reduce the price, right, via this option being available so that they don't have to price in the potential problem of a viral outbreak, right?
Sure.
And so
Yeah.
we're trading one for the other. And then
Mhm.
on top of that, there is this government money that comes from all of us. And I would just refer back to the economic calculation problem that the state central planning and redistribution of resources is always, by definition, taking money from higher valued means and appropriating them towards lower valued means, right? Like it is impossible for the government to not do that, right? The market would absolutely otherwise there would be no need for the government to give out this relief aid if that is where this money is most valued, because people would have some charitable organization or something that does that, and thus it would make it you know it would make it redundant, right? So
Well, wait.
whenever the
So
government
just
does that
to
redistribution, it's
Sure.
it's a harm on the market price.
Well, there's also just less turkeys, right? Supply and demand.
Well, yeah, but presumably, right? I'm baking in to steelman his position is that presumably it's the perfect amount of government, hoops to ensure the
Mhm.
safety to enter back into the market, right? And the trade off is that you would kill less turkeys, so there you'd
Yeah.
have a higher supply of turkeys, but presumably without that relief money, farmers would have to increase the price of
Even
turkeys
more, right?
Mhm.
in case of there being some
Right.
type of financial setback in the
Right,
future because of an outbreak.
but even if the farmers were compensated, the price of turkeys would still go up because there's just fewer turkeys in the market, right? That command
Yep.
a higher price.
Mhm.
Right. Even as they're compensated, as they're compensated, the incentive is a process that leads towards more culling, which means lower supply, which means
Mhm.
higher cost of turkeys, and we get this money taken out of the economy in the form of
Right.
taxation to pay these farmers.
Well,
Right.
look, if you want to approach this from like an improvement standpoint, if you can say, hey, we should really invest in making testing more available and affordable and efficient, so these turkeys don't have to be cold, and we could just do a lot more testing. And maybe it's like, it takes some investment to do that. Maybe there's some inefficiency compared because there's so much like factory farming, the amount of testing you would have to do.
There's
You
no
know,
need. You just get
Right.
rid of the subsidies, and then the market itself will realize that the value of better testing goes up because the better testing there is, and the less culling and the less bureaucratic hoops from the state, the more the value of the testing goes up. So it is the reimbursement for culling that is incentivizing, or I should say disincentivizing, the market coming up with better testing.
Well,
What I don't think is the
it would all
solution
cost more,
is to
though.
steal more money from the American taxpayer to then invest in presumably a better testing thing that presumably leads to a return on investment in the future. That is a problem that is created by the disincentivization of the state to begin with. What you're saying
Okay,
is
but the
just
food
steal
would
more
cost
money
more.
because the
Okay.
state stole money.
But the food would cost more, and the farmers would make less money. That would be one downside, for example, right?
Well, I mean, presumably the food would cost more until there was an equilibrium where the farmers were making relatively the same money. but like
how
like
would
like
that
the food
happen?
would
I don't
cost more.
I don't understand. You're removing your so there's a situation that has to be addressed. Sometimes the birds are sick, right? Right. Sometimes the birds are sick. Something has to be done, right?
Mhm.
You can test to figure out exactly which birds are sick, or get kind of a closer, radius of which birds are sick. Or you can kill a large, it's like if you're cutting out a cancer, how close do you cut? You don't want to cut extra healthy tissue. You don't want to miss any cancer, right?
Mhm.
If there was no right, so just backing up a little bit, because I want to make sure that we're not getting, this might be kind of a big actual ideological difference, is like, let's say there was really no regulation at all, and it was like, hey, Tyson Foods, if they've got an outbreak, maybe you just die, but it's pretty cheap, so it's up to you, the consumer, to decide. You
Yeah,
want
that'd be
that
better.
cheap turkey, that would be okay. So that was my guess, is we're not actually really talking about this like further down the line. You don't want them to say, hey, if some of your turkeys might kill people, you actually got to like deal with that problem. Just say, hey, leave it up to the consumer. People will buy the turkeys that they have. The consumer will decide the level of risk that they want, right?
The turkey
Do they want
Yeah,
roulette.
that'd be better.
Kick in.
turkey
That'd be
roulette?
better. That would absolutely
Okay.
be better, and less people would die because of it.
How would
You'd
how would
save more
fewer
lives.
people? Okay, walk me through that, because that's the part that I don't
Hey,
think is
Lactoid,
plausible.
stream together?
Yeah, your voice also is a lot better now. You fixed the mic, whatever issue
Okay,
that
thank
was.
you. But yeah, I sent you an invite.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
the way that it works right now is that if you're a small farmer, you're basically the smaller your farm is, the more incentivized you are to get government reimbursements for culling the population. And the reason is that in most states, I did a whole thing on it. This was maybe like a year ago, right? So forgive me if I'm a little bit wrong here, right? So I may be slightly off here, but
Hey,
the
1
last
year
time I
out of
looked
date
at
is
it,
going to be better than me. So
right, because I did a whole thing on like the price of eggs, and everybody was blaming Biden. I was like, no, here's what's actually happening. So I did a whole bunch of research on it, like maybe like
No,
a
I
year
was
ago.
Biden.
Right, it's all
It's why-
Biden's
it's
He
fault,
why-
turned
right?
up the
why-
So-
dial on the.
Look, it's
yeah.
why Trump
Right,
got the
so-
price of turkeys down this year. It's I'm just saying. It's
yeah, sure.
it's actually
And
still
so
Biden right now.
so when you go through, when you have option A, option B, right? Option A is get CDC inspections,
Mhm.
Department of Agriculture inspections, and like there's a bunch of shit you have to do. I don't remember the
Mhm.
entire process, right? And it's different, a little bit different from state to state. And so if you're a small farmer, the thing is that you have to pay for these inspections. So these are not provided by the state, right?
Mhm.
You have to spend money to bring these things out. And so this is where you get an economies of scale situation. So Tyson can very easily pay to have all of their facilities inspected, etc., right? Whereas smaller farmers, it's much easier for them to just cull the entire population and then take
Mhm.
government subsidies. And these subsidies are, by the way, at a loss, right? Like even though you are subsidized, you're still losing money, but you're kind of losing money no matter what you do here.
Mhm.
Even if you're Tyson, like you're still going to lose some money. Like it's not fully funding the exact market price of the chicken. It's like a
Mhm.
percentage, and again,
Yeah.
it's like different from state to state. I think one of the best states in terms of like highest amount of subsidies was Pennsylvania last I checked,
Mm.
but then there are some states that have very limited funding for those things. Regardless,
Okay.
you can either pay the state or you can just take the subsidies. So as of right now, large corporations benefit the most when there is an influenza breakout.
Mm.
As opposed to small farmers, because they have the economies of scale to pay for all of these things so that they
Sure.
can cull a much smaller portion. Right? Now, if we left this situation up to the free market, right, and we got the government out of it and we just said, sell what you want to sell. Well, it is
Mhm.
absolutely true that high time preference individuals or corporations or businesses would sell dirty, fucked up meat to people, and
Mhm.
people would die. And then when
Mhm.
those people die, they would be prosecuted by some level of fraud when they are selling food that is knowingly that they have some knowledge of. Now,
How would you
granted,
prove that?
through whatever market system of justice you're using at the time. I don't want to get
Okay.
into every single aspect of anarcho-capitalism, right? Let's just
Sure.
assume, for an example, that there are agreed upon rights enforcement agencies and arbitration
I
firms and
have
insurance companies.
some court that I pay to represent my interests, some police to represent my interests, and they'll go to war with Tyson Foods, right?
And in order to avoid going to war, Tyson Foods has their
We'll
own
pay
corporation.
some.
And then just like 97% of like, you know, car incidents in insurance companies, it never even goes to court because,
Yep.
you know, Geico settles with Nationwide or Nationwide settles with Geico. And then if they can't figure something out, then they go to arbitration and they go,
Mhm.
hey, look, you've already agreed ahead of time that, you know, Nationwide represents you. And Nationwide has already agreed with Geico that if they can't resolve the dispute, that they go to a third party arbitration firm for all of their disputes, and that's like the final arbiter of the situation, right? So let's just assume
Yeah.
all of that's working as intended, right? In that instance,
Okay.
what ends up happening is Tyson is especially large companies are disincentivized by the market to poison people because the less that they self-regulate, the less that they insure their services and make sure that they don't have these outbreaks, then the more likely they are to poison a bunch of people. And especially if somebody dies, right? Like the amount of money lost from someone dying is astronomical, right? As you know, you're spending millions and millions of dollars, unlike the government where they
Maybe.
kind of
And
protect
just
large
to
corporations.
just to put a pin here, right? So we're recognizing, right? It's a negative factor if people die, right? That's
Yes,
bad
for sure, right?
business.
Like
But
there's a risk assessment, right? Like
yeah,
and this
but
is
being
true of the
risky is
state
good
as
for
well.
business.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is true of the state as well, right? Like the state could spend every single tax dollar to get rid of lead
Mhm.
in our waterway system, and they would
Yeah.
still never get rid of all of the lead, right?
Sure.
So the state also recognizes that there's a certain amount of money, right, that you ought to spend towards, you know, making sure that there
Mhm.
isn't lead in our drinking water, and then at a certain, the more lead we get rid of, you know, the more money it costs to get rid of less and less lead. The same thing would be true of,
Yeah.
you know, Tyson, recognizing that the more money they spend to ensure that they don't poison people with, you know, some salmonella outbreak or, you know, some bird flu or, you know, whatever, that
Mhm.
the more money they spend, you know, they get less and less return on investment. There's an equilibrium where
Yep.
eventually it's, you know, some people are going to die. That's true of the
Yeah.
state. That's true of the market.
Uh-huh.
Right. And so what I am saying is that because of the economic calculation problem, the state has to spend more money to reach the same results as does the market. And because of that, money is pulled out of the economy, out of working, you know, people that are working, and thus in some way, shape, or form we feel the damage of that. And that damage means that there is someone doesn't get a promotion, someone stays homeless instead of finding a job and ends up becoming, you know, a drug addict that dies from fentanyl, someone loses their job and commits suicide. Somewhere in the economy people suffer because there's less money moving through the economy and there's less prosperity and prices are more expensive and jobs are less available, and that is always true of the state because the price mechanism is a superior means of determining that risk analysis than
Scott,
is central planning from the state.
one question I have for you though is I can see like with a company like Tyson, if letting it entirely be, you know, fall in lawsuits is probably what they're most afraid of. But what about like small producers that don't have the money, like they simply don't have the capital to reimburse somebody for these like lawsuits?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So Tyson is probably more likely to have a safe product.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is then instead of having the state say, right, like when you go and buy meat from the grocery store, right?
Wait, why would
It'll
it be?
say
Why
on
would
the
it be
pack-
safer?
Because they actually have enough, like they could. What I'm asking is, okay,
'Cause
you
they
have
have more
Tyson
to
on one
lose.
hand. Yeah, you have Tyson on one hand, which has, you know, millions and millions of dollars, and you know they kill killer
hundreds
chicken.
of billions.
Yeah, I know, ridiculous amounts. But I'm just work with me. They sell
Yeah.
killer chicken, and it, you know, wipes out a family of 4. They, you know, their estate sues or their next of kin sues, and you know, they win millions and millions of dollars, right? Tyson has the money to pay that, right? there actually is like a reimbursement mechanism. But if I'm Joe Schmo and I have like a chicken coop in my backyard and I'm out in my front lawn selling like chickens, and I sell killer chickens, no one's getting $1 million.
Literally not taste-wise.
Yeah. Nobody's giving me millions of dollars. Like, no, I'm not gonna be able to give anybody millions of dollars. If they sue me, I'm just gonna declare bankruptcy on my little, LLC.
Well, I would
that
say
has
you
like
can't.
$8 in capital.
You can't declare bankruptcy under anarcho-capitalism. You owe your debts.
What? Okay.
So you would
you'd
be at the mercy
Sure.
of the family to be
So
enslaved.
so if I accidentally sell tainted chicken, I would then be the slave of the family.
Yeah. Lots of people would
Yeah.
be slaves, right?
Okay.
I mean, slavery built a lot of cool things, boys. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
fucking slaves from people that have fucked up, even better. But yeah, so here's the situation,
Or
right?
people who
Is
are children of
Tyson
slaves, right?
Tyson would then be in. So when you go to the grocery store right now and you look at meat, you're going to see on any packaging of beef, right? USDA certified grade A meat, right? Under a free market, you wouldn't have USDA certified grade A meat. So you have an option as a citizen. You can go to a farmer's market and trust your local farmers in your community. Maybe you trust them, maybe you don't. Maybe the food quality is good. Maybe you know them, but you take a risk because you go somewhere where nothing is insured, nothing is certified, right? And you're taking said risk. You might be risking your health or your life or whatever, right? Or you can go to Elwood Thompson's grocery store. Elwood Thompson says everything sold at our grocery store has met some level of insurance or some level of quality. Okay, so everything at that grocery store, you don't have to look at every single packaging. You know that if you go to that grocery store, that they've certified it, and that Elwood Thompson, the grocery store, is now taking on that risk, because if they don't ensure that there's some insurance or that the food is certified to some degree, then it becomes fraud, right? So if they put a single thing in their grocery store that isn't certified by like some company that people know, then they've taken on the risk of committing fraud.
Well,
so you just go to the grocery store and everything's inspected.
Scott, the way out of this would just be to like put a disclaimer, right? So like if I'm a major chicken manufacturer, let's say, and I can beat everyone's pricing because I'm a major chicken manufacturer, I'm just going to put in my label, this meat could have some kind of deadly disease. Tyson's not responsible in case you get sick.
May or may not be
right.
killer chicken.
And Elwood Thompson wouldn't sell your shit, but maybe whatever version of Walmart might, or whatever farmer's market you go to might. And so you choose as a consumer whether or not you want to go somewhere where your food is certified to be safe and it costs more money, or your food isn't certified to be safe and it costs less money. And it's going to balance out fairly quickly that all of the places that are selling unsafe, completely unregulated produce and things like that are killing people and going out of business left and right. And so it would behoove literally anyone that wants to make any level of money to ensure that their food is safe and that it's well regulated. And it would behoove every grocery store to ensure that all the products that they put on the shelves are similarly done the same. Like, it sounds crazy because you already have this mechanism that steals 60 or 50, maybe 45% of all of the wealth that you make, on top of all kinds of economic opportunities, to ensure that there's some level of insurance and compliance within our food industry. But the fact of the matter is that the state is actually really poor at regulating things. The market is better at regulating things because the incentives are based upon the price mechanism, where there's far more information. And so you can be context dependent. And on top of that, it's far faster to respond to market pressures from people dying or getting sick, or from people, wanting a cheaper product, et cetera, than is state regulatory agencies that are, layers and layers of bureaucracy of central planning that have to, as you stated, Socrates, why don't we commission a study to see if we can get a better food testing thing as opposed to the market?
I didn't say that. I said maybe we could upgrade that system. I didn't say commission a study. That's like a very specific way to look at it. Right.
I apologize if I'm strawmanning you, but like that seemed to be what you were implying, was that like maybe we should invest money to get better testing to reduce the price of,
sure.
Testing to reduce the culling of things. And I'm saying the market would do that, and it would do it more efficiently if the state got out of the fucking way.
How would it do that more efficiently? I'm just
So,
walk
like-
me through that.
Because that's the economic calculation problem. Do you want me to explain the economic
no, no,
calculation?
no,
problem?
Who owns the
No,
roads
that's-
in this?
no,
in
that's
this
not.
Well, it would
It's
also just be
not.
more
maybe I mean, that's
consensual.
like a legitimate. I'm actually at like who owns the roads, right? Because the only reason for
Whatever
the
road that
roads
you
to be
build,
fixed is if
Ollie.
someone owns it,
And
right? And they want it,
homestead.
and they need it fixed, right? So like, do
Yeah.
people own the roads? The state doesn't own the road, right?
Well, if there's no state, then the state doesn't own the roads, right?
course. So
all the
then-
roads would be private property.
So then people could just ban other people from going on their roads
Yes, that's-
whenever they want, right?
is what you would say.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so, like, do you understand like why people like when they start thinking about this type of society, like it just doesn't seem functionable? Like, if I own the road and
Disney
I can
owns
just
Disney owns a highway to Disneyland. Disney could ban people on their roads, and they have before because certain people are banned from Disneyland. But we don't see this we don't see this like terrorful aspect, of like people being like, "Oh my God, it's the worst thing in the world that I can't go on Disney's highway." And by the way, Disney's highway is a means by which people can go on Disney's highway and then get off of Disney's highway to bypass
it's a toll road, right?
It's a toll road.
Yeah, well, like the idea is that the person wants everybody to use the roads because they make money off the toll. It'd be dumb
Well,
of them
private
to
property
ban
owner would do the same
everybody in
thing,
like
yeah.
a draconian measure, right? Obviously, people who are banned from Disney, then yeah, you don't get the privilege of using our highway.
Well, so let me give you an example.
We can throw away that $2-3, but the idea of a toll road is that you want everyone because it's a commodity, right? It's something you're selling.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, use our road. It's better. It's faster.
Yeah,
and
so the
it's more
market
streamlined.
incentive isn't well. So here's a
Yeah,
great
so it's
example
not like draconian
of like
though. He's talking about no one can use the road because I own it. 'Cause that'd be dumb.
yeah, that'd be dumb for the private property owner to build a major highway and then ban a bunch of people from a major highway, right? Like that'd be a terrible idea. It'd be a terrible business model. But let me give you an example of like tolls,
Who's
right?
the richest
An example
libertarian?
why. I don't know.
No,
Like I
I'm
mean, it
just
depends.
off
It depends
hand.
upon your definition of what
Peter
libertarian is.
Thiel, I
So-
guess, maybe.
Yeah, like some people would say Peter Thiel, but I wouldn't consider him a libertarian, right? Like,
Okay.
but
He's a socialist like Lactoid.
yeah. Regardless, let me give you an example of like
I'm on
why
board with most of
toll
what Scott's
roads
saying, by the way. on
for the state is like a big problem.
chicken, the
So-
tainted chicken. If I want to buy tainted chicken, that's my fault, right? That's my choice.
So like I don't know where you live.
You can taint your own
right?
chicken, by the way,
But
Lactoid. Nothing's stopping you.
Let's assume that there's a major highway.
I prefer my chicken
in-
pre-tainted.
Yeah, so like let's
Lot of
assume
work,
there's a
that's-
major highway in and out of a city, right? Whatever city is nearby you, just imagine that major highway in and out of the city. And what you will find at basically every city in America is that there's something called 9 to 5 traffic, right? Where somewhere around 8 to 10 o'clock in the morning, traffic's really bad. And somewhere between like 4 and 6 p.m., traffic's really bad. And then traffic isn't as bad during those times. Now, one of the problems is that the state puts this regulation that says if you're going to have a toll road, the toll has all of these requirements that the state puts on it, right? So the toll can't be too expensive because that would be like a violation of people's rights for some fucking reason, right? And then one of the ways that they'll recoup their costs is that they'll put higher tolls on 18-wheelers, right? Because 18-wheelers are they weigh more, so they tend to do more damage, right? So that kind of makes sense. Right. But here's one of the bigger problems. One of the ways that you can reduce traffic without building any roads whatsoever, just
Build
keeping the
trains.
exact same roads, is that you have a toll and the toll price changes dependent upon the time of day. What you can do is you can have a toll road and the toll is $1, but during 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., the toll is $2.
I think
And
the same
from
thing with speed
4
limits.
p.m. to 6 p.m., the toll is $2. And so if you want to go into town to shop on your day off, you're sitting there and you're going, oh, let me actually wait until 10 o'clock. And that way the toll will be
Didn't
cheap.
New York try this?
Isn't that basically
Some-
congestion pricing?
They put the fee to get into the city, right? If you use the bridge, if you use the road, you have to pay like
Mhm.
$15 or $20 to get into Manhattan, and I think out of Manhattan as well. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
I don't know
We've
how
seen
well
it-
that worked out for
we-
them.
We've
But
seen it
that's-
with some relative success.
It works
but we
great.
know
But he's
for-
talking about something different, right? You're talking about dynamic pricing. Right?
Dynamic
So like
pricing.
I'm talking
Um,
about dynamic pricing based upon the
Yeah.
time of day. And so
Yeah.
there are absolutely going to be people that want to drive into the city at 9 o'clock in the morning, but aren't doing so because of work. and they go, oh, it's traffic, but whatever, I want to be in the city. But if you increase the amount for the toll, specifically during high traffic times, then some of those people will go, you know what? I want to go to coffee, but I'm going to schedule my coffee date for 10:30 instead of 9:30 in the morning because it'll be a cheaper toll to get into the city. And so what ends up happening is that you can actually reduce traffic just by increasing or decreasing tolls. But one of the problems is that that's not how taxation works. When you tax everybody for a road and it isn't a toll road, then what ends up happening is that people just use the road because they have a quote unquote right to use the road because they pay for the road with their taxes. And so this is one of the ways in which the price mechanism can literally just reduce traffic without building a single new road, just by changing the tolls based upon the times of day. So traffic will be a little bit worse during non-peak times and a little bit better during peak times, and you're less likely to get stuck in stop and go traffic on your way to and from work.
Sure. So sorry, what's the problem? That makes sense, and that maybe happens somewhere.
What I'm saying is that when you this is just one example of how the price mechanism more accurately allocates resources than does taxation. Right? Because taxation just pays for the roads, and then you end up with congestion in 9 to 5 traffic. But if they were privatized and you had toll roads and people could respond with the price mechanism, you could actually reduce traffic simply by utilizing the price mechanism in the usage of those roads.
Well,
So instead of taxes, you pay
a city
tolls.
could do that. A city could do that
instead of paying taxes, you'd pay toll.
Wait, there are some places that have toll highways. Or that's, I guess, all highways. They're not free. If they're not freeways, they have a toll. That's a normal thing that happens just in the world. I don't understand why could a company do that, but a city or whatever couldn't. I don't understand.
I never made the claim that the city couldn't. It's that the city doesn't right now because most of, especially our major
And you wouldn't want
highways
them to, right?
are used that way. And then you would absolutely get a whole bunch of people, because we live in a democracy, that are saying, how dare you all of a sudden charge me extra money because I'm the one going to work in the city, and people that don't have fucking jobs and are on welfare are paying less money because they don't have to get into work.
Oh, they're absolutely going to get exemptions too. That's
Like-
going to be like a big welfare program. Like, oh, we're going to cover your tolls for you. 100%.
Right. And so it's not so much that the state couldn't do it. And I would even say, insofar as the state moves closer towards price mechanism and farther away from like flat systems of taxation, that I probably would support that, though obviously I would support privatizing the roads more, right? I'm not saying the state couldn't do that. I just gave you an example of how the price mechanism can be a
Progressive
superior
taxation is
means,
good.
can be a means of more accurately
regulating,
allocating resources
assets.
than
Yeah.
does the state.
Well, so again, there's a balance, because if you have tolls, that's an administration that now costs money to run. You're basically doing that study, or if you're doing it in like a clever way, then you're collecting data about how those prices are relating to traffic. But if you're a company who's running that, then who's just running the roads, you're thinking about, well, what's the optimal amount of toll that I can get. If you're a city, you're trying to get people to have like a good experience of being. Those are different values, right? So efficiency is only relevant within very specific, narrow domains. It's not relevant to every step of the process, because you're optimizing for totally different things, or at least potentially opposed things. Right?
What's your argument? I'm missing something. I haven't heard an argument. You just, other than like efficiency isn't always good, which I feel like isn't your argument.
I mean, it's efficiency to do what? So if I'm a company, and my company is, we build roads and we charge a toll, right? And so we make money over 100 years or whatever on those roads that we build for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to maximize efficiency. To me, that means, what's the most return? Okay, if the toll's way too high, nobody's going to drive on my roads. They're not even going to use my roads. They're going to use somebody else's roads. So it's got to be low enough.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to maximize is how much toll over some long period of time that I can collect.
You need
That's what I'm
ROI.
trying to optimize.
Yeah, so
You have
the
ROI.
the price mechanism, right? So first and foremost, it's important to recognize what is profit, right? People think profit is just extra money after, after revenue and costs, right? When in reality is that, in order to create a complex economy, you need land, labor, and capital, right? So you need land, right, to build whatever it is you're building. Even if it's on the internet, you need like land for the servers, et cetera, right? You need labor. At some portion, you're going to need to utilize labor. Some individual products can be done with only one or two of these, but in a complex economy, you're going to get all three, right? And then you need capital, right? So profit is the reward that the capitalist gains for properly allocating resources into the future, for properly predicting where the future price will be. So if the capitalist says, in the future, after, because we have what is known as a universal time preference, right? If I want a slice of pizza, right, and I can pay $10 for a slice of pizza, well, let's say $1 for a slice of pizza right now, or I can pay $1 for a slice of pizza a month from now, I'm always going to choose $1 slice of pizza right now than the one in the month. And so production takes time. And so the capitalist invests money to make a product or a service in the future, which means that they need to attempt to figure out what will be the price in the future, so they know what is the worth, like what it's worth to invest right now to build a factory, to build cement, to build steel girders, so that they can build a road, so that they can then have a road in the future. And they need to be able to do that cost benefit analysis, right?
And the better they can do it, all else being equal, the more profit they'll make.
Right. So when we're talking about the price mechanism, why is it that the price mechanism is so much superior to central planning? It's because the price mechanism has in it an infinitesimal amount of data. What we have to recognize is that value is subjective, and that values change over time. So you can never properly, like we will never be able to get, even in a post-scarcity world, what's known as an evenly rotating economy, which is where prices are fixed and that those prices are always going to be the same, right? That is an impossibility to do. And the reason is, just as a quick example, right? I'm walking into work and there's a hot dog stand, and the hot dog stand sells hot dogs for $3. Well, in the morning, I don't really want a hot dog, and $3 isn't really worth it to me. But because I'm not hungry, but maybe I'm really, really hungry and I forgot to eat lunch, I'll buy a hot dog, right? However, I go to work, I get out of work for my lunch break, and then the first thing I smell is those hot dogs and I'm hungry. All of a sudden, $3 is worth it for a hot dog. So the value of a hot dog to me in the morning, having eaten breakfast, is maybe like 20 cents. And then the value of a hot dog when I haven't eaten breakfast is maybe like $3.40 or $3.50 or $4. And maybe the value of a hot dog is $5 at lunchtime. So what I value a hot dog as changes throughout the day based upon my preferences, my values, whether or not I'm hungry, et cetera, et cetera. So the price mechanism contains is like the capitalist is the one that that gets the most profit, is the one that can get that price closest to the equilibrium where I run out of hot dogs and at the same time nobody else wants a hot dog, right? Like if I can get the price, if I can have 200 hot dogs, what I want is I want to be able to sell 200 hot dogs, and I want not a single person to be like, "Oh, you're out of hot dogs? That sucks." And that's how that price mechanism, that's the perfect, presumably, price for that day of selling hot dogs. Now, when we're talking about the state utilizing central planning to attempt to build something versus the market and the price mechanism, I think the best example to utilize in this is a railway. So the state wants to build a railway from city A to city B. Okay, now the state can do one of two things. The state can either use a bunch of dynamite and machinery to go through a mountain and build the railway through the mountain. Or the state can go around the mountain, but they'll need to use more track, right? So they'll need to use more wood, they'll need to use more steel, etc. And they'll have to use maybe like different engineering things, etc. And let's assume that it would take the exact same amount of time to get from city A to city B, going through the mountain or going around the mountain for whatever reason. Maybe you can increase speed outside of the mountain in a way that you can't going through the mountain.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, the central planner has to commission studies, commit tax people, right? The commissar under a socialist system, right? They have to figure out to the best of their knowledge what is the more cost-effective means of getting a railway built from point A to point B. But the capitalists under capitalism, unregulated by the state, what they use is the price mechanism. What's cheaper? If they can both get from point A to point B in the exact same amount of time, what's cheaper? Are engineers cheaper? Is dynamite cheaper? Or is steel and wood to go around the mountain cheaper? And in that price mechanism, by looking at how much does it cost to go around and how much does it cost to go through, is billions, is infinite amount of information. It's how much is engineering worth right now? Do engineers, are they more valuable in agriculture? Are they more valuable in city planning? Or are they more valuable in railways or in demolition? How much, when we look at steel, it's, how much are coal miners being paid? How much are steel miners being paid?
Yep.
How much are the smelters? There's an infinite amount of information in the price mechanism.
Well,
So when the central planner attempts to
it's
do
tied
this,
to a lot of information. It's convoluted with a lot of information.
right? But I mean, sure.
yeah.
But what I'm saying is that information is contained in the price. All of these economic interactions, from the coal miner to the steel miner to the grocery stores to the agriculture to the engineers to the individual person shopping at the grocery store, all of these millions of interactions between millions of people is all contained within the price of steel and the price of wood and the price to hire an engineer. And when the central planner, they have to attempt to determine this information. And what ends up happening is it costs money to determine that information, and they get less information than does the price mechanism.
Yep.
Okay.
No,
Well,
that's true.
first of all,
Welcome to the Reverie.
Yeah, I appreciate. Yeah, I went to.
I get it. Everybody's falling
yeah,
asleep because I'm doing my fucking ANCAP fucking
I
Austrian
was
econ
not
stream.
falling asleep.
I
captivated.
wanted to
I'm
I wanted to
excited
give you the
stuff.
space to do it because I know like Socrates hasn't heard it. All the rest of us have heard it, so I'm just gonna. And that kind of at the perfect time. However, thank you, Doobie. Thank you, Doobie. Thank you, Doobie. YouTubing, super chatting.
Wow.
Right now. And let's put that on screen. $500.
Holy shit.
And Scott, connect the ANCAP 101 lessons to the inevitable glorification of the Republican Party.
I don't think that's a word.
Yes. Yes. It's really, really simple, right? The Republican Party is just as socialist as the Democrat Party. The Republican Party is, as Michael Malice says, are Democrats just going the speed limit. And the problem is that they ping pong off of each other and they don't actually fix any problems. They are the one step back in a process that is 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And young Gen Z men grew up in a world where they were constantly castigated for being white men, where they were constantly attacked by every institution, their teachers, etc., for the crime of being white, and they wanted to rectify this. They were liberals. They wanted to be good liberals. And what they saw over and over and over again is this process of the Republican Party selling them a box of lies that they were going to do something about all of this socialism and all of these attacks on them, and instead creating wedge issues where they accomplished nothing. And so slowly but surely, liberal-minded young white men realized that if the sword of Damocles was going to be over someone's head, it wasn't going to be theirs. And so instead of going deeper into recognizing the inherent contradictions of socialism and liberalism and finding a philosophy of liberty and freedom instead of watching Lord of the Rings and realizing that you need to throw the Ring of Power into the fires of Mount Doom, they decided that they wanted to wield the Ring of Power because they do not believe that they have the capacity or that our society is at a point where they can stop this socialism from the left. So they are going to adopt the socialism of the right to use against the left. And if we do not do something about this, we are absolutely 100% going to see a rise of fascism, especially amongst young Gen Z males, because they are sick of being the victims of socialism, but they do not understand that they are only making the problem worse by wielding that power themselves. They just have a reaction to use that power against the left that has been fucking over their country for the last 100 years.
I'd say it's $500 well spent right there. Look at that. Full explanation.
I would agree. I want to respond to that. I have thoughts. Before I respond, because it's going to be a whole thing. And then Scott's going to yell at me, and then I'm going to yell back. It's going to be a whole thing. Okay. All right. So
Scott would never yell.
I'm not yelling.
Not yet.
Also, why the fuck are you giving him $500 for a question for me? Like, I'm streaming right now.
Because
you know what I mean? Like, at a minimum, you could have like done. You could split it 250. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck?
Because
I made $53 tonight so far. You know what I mean? Like, that's 10 times what I made tonight.
Because Prime is
Doobie is my homie,
Wait,
and I don't make that much here, right? Okay, so Doobie's my homie. He's looking out for me. I do appreciate you, Doobie. You're really cool. Thank you so much for the kindness. And we're not done with the discussion. We're gonna get back to that in a second. I just want to get this one other super chat out of the way. From our friend FQ, who I appreciate as well. Thank you, FQ, for $10. Happy Thanksgiving. I wanted to give thanks to those who helped elect our first American LGBT president. White Boy Winter in a red turtleneck and ballroom musical theater is
That was
the
an awful
vibe.
outfit
Well
choice.
done,
It
well
really
done.
was.
Sorry, I didn't see this picture. So, like, President Trump
awful.
was in a.
It's like he copied fucking Zoran Mamdani's outfit, and he doesn't have
No,
quite
he's
the aura.
pro Zoran Mamdani recently.
FQ, send me the picture or whatever.
He looks good.
I haven't seen
I'm
it.
not gonna lie, it's a good look.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, if people are appreciating it, FQ, I'm really again thankful for the $10 for the constant support. I really do appreciate you, FQ. You're not a billionaire, so it means a lot.
And let's be honest, Trump is not the first gay president.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true.
what do you think of getting a blowjob? Does that make Clinton gay to get a blowjob from him? Or because different people different.
yeah,
No,
I
he
feel
was
like
the
that's
top in
okay.
the situation. He's not gay.
I actually have a
feel like that's
calculation
kinda
on
gay.
this. I have an equation called the Gatio.
Ooh.
You can plug in certain values and get to exactly how gay you are.
Do you have an Excel spreadsheet I can plug those in?
He
not
does,
a-
probably. Yes.
I probably could just make an Excel.
And here I am, the autistic libertarian, and he's got a fucking gay equation spreadsheet.
I didn't say that.
I got a lot of charts and shit. I keep track of everything.
No, I keep track of a lot of links. I have like probably hundreds by now of links I've like accumulated for like interesting stories and things for us to talk about, or to argue about. Like when I have to dunk on one of you, I gotta have a source. Find me a source for why I'm so wrong. Oh yes, I do have a source. Bam, there you go, bitch. And
Obsidian is really helpful for that. If you've have you used that before?
no, actually, so I did use Obsidian previously. I actually used it when I went on Tim Pool's thing,
too.
right?
Yep.
But I had literally
I
discovered
use
it
handwritten notes.
like 2 days before. Yeah,
like a boomer.
yeah, boomer, of course. But on the other side, I actually use. I was telling Corey about this. I have a private server, Discord server, where I organize everything. It's just me, and I just I got all the different channels with different subjects, and I got a whole list of stuff. Yeah.
Cool. You don't have the Gatio.
So back to.
I'll send that to you later.
Sorry, what?
You don't have the
Is that
Gatio,
trademarked,
though.
by the way?
Oh, the Gatio.
I think
The ratio, the
technically-
Gatio.
I think technically it is trademarked now that I've made it.
Okay.
It's not a patent. You have to file for it.
I
It's
don't know that.
automatic.
The case. Okay.
Can you help me
but-
break that trademark?
Well, it's not. Hold on. You're sorry. It's copywritten. It's not going to be trademarked or patented.
Okay, good.
Sorry, but you still can't copy it.
Back to this, Doobie. Again, thank you for the 500. It's really kind of you, friend. But and hopefully you're still listening. The thing that before I do that, FQ did send me the picture. And okay, let's see. I think it's interesting what Trump absorbs, right? Like who he accepts and who rejects. Like that's like amazing. Like the
Are we talking about orally or like figuratively?
Well, I mean, how did he feel about Bubba? Did he ever dress the way Bubba did? I don't know.
Did he absorb?
Who could tell?
Is it less gay if Bubba was cross dressing at the time?
Okay, that's not the
Like 6%.
That's another debate right there.
Slightly.
You know what I
Very
mean?
slightly.
Yeah, I'm just curious. You know,
Yeah, I would say so.
That's a good
More than
discussion.
5, less than
But anyway,
10%.
I appreciate that. So anyway, thank you, FQ, for that. But anyway, back to this. Yeah, so I don't think it's socialism would be why those people are moving over to the far right. I think it's
It's the fire department.
It's the fire department.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yes, the fire. Indeed, it's the fire department. It's our socialized fire department, which is the reason. No, like I would say it's the cumulative failures of our society to properly redress their issues. I think that we haven't provided them with opportunities. Now, I understand that that the way you interpret that is, hey, the government taxes the population and takes a certain amount of opportunity out of the economy, and maybe that's the way, and that's how we get here. And sure, I will one day love to see ANCAPism out in the wild working properly, and that's not like a slight or anything. I'm like, I actually mean that. Like one day, like you've got me interested, friend. So like one day I would actually like to see it. But
maybe we'll see it in Argentina. Who knows?
Yeah,
maybe.
or the Congo, maybe.
Unlikely.
I think the problem is it's not socialism. I think we have very little of that in this nation. I know you disagree on that one, but I think we have very little of what most people
that's fair. I mean, it's relative, right? Like relative to Europe, we have less socialism.
Yeah.
You know, relative to America 100 years ago, we have astronomically more socialism. You could agree to that, right?
What? Okay. Yeah, sure.
Wait, so
I would say
just
that
to get what are the worst? What's like the one worst socialism that we have right now? Just to get like.
no. Before we get distracted.
Let him answer, Doobie.
Yeah. So one of the problems is, and I was just discussing this with someone the other day. I forget who I was talking to. Now we were on Dr. Greg's thing. Corey and I we were talking about this. I think one of the issues is that we're not investing in terms of people's education. I think at some point, right, the price of upper education, higher education, has just like gone completely out of the realm of attainability for most individuals. They feel locked out of the economy. We're supposed to be transitioning to a knowledge-based economy. I'm not sure if we're still on that track, but so many young men feel locked out of that. They don't have access to even vocational training to access these jobs. They live in cities and communities that have been disinvested for years, right? So that would be urban environments, but also like rural environments, right? We see a lot of hopelessness there, right? We can see just now, the other day, was it Lexington, North Dakota, I believe, is the state where there's a Tyson factory. Bringing up Tyson, they're going to close that factory, and that employs 1/3 of the population. Right? We know how this story ends for this town. It was like around 10,000 people in the Tyson
fentanyl.
factory,
That's how it ends.
Yeah, fentanyl. Yeah, right. The Tyson factory employs about like over 3,000 of these individuals. Right. It ends in fentanyl. Exactly right. We see we have the concept of the Rust Belt. We have the concept of excess labor here, where it's just kind of like built into our economic models. Right. And I actually mean like actual plan models that you'll just have an excess amount of labor here, and that's just like okay, like these individuals will just be unemployed, even though there's plenty of work to do in this country, right? We could put them to work doing something, maybe not as excellently, right, as the price mechanism can do that. I'm not fighting you on that, okay, but I'm just saying that like we could direct them into our country to do something productive, and there are plenty of things to do, but we don't. So when and tie that with the fact that we see women doing better in our economy, and shout out to our female friends, we love you. We're glad to see it, right? But
And
we
they
see
talk
them
shit about
steadily.
men too. That doesn't
Sorry,
help.
what'd you say?
And they're also talking shit about men while as
They're
doing
also
better.
talking shit about men, right?
Yeah,
Oh no.
And how big their dicks
Shout out
are.
to
You know,
women.
like it's a big problem, or a little problem, really.
I hate when that
But
happens. Yeah, it's just like,
Black
it's
boys
always
kinda
too big. It's
snowflakey.
always too big. It's like Jesus Christ.
How do you even swim
Love you,
with
friend.
that thing? It's so non-aerodynamic. I don't.
But last thing I'll say, sorry, because I'm rambling here. Is yes, when men see that their prospects are lower than women, right? Now, for better or for worse, like since society has told them that you should be a provider, and they feel like you can't be a provider, yes, that builds deep resentment. When they feel like they can't date, right? When they're not in the position to present themselves as a partner, right? A reasonable partner, when they feel like their dating prospects are drying up, yes, that builds resentment. Like, and final thing, like the thing that we used to do in the past, right? Like, many years ago, centuries ago, right? When we had excess labor, like we do now, right? What does the kingdom do? They send them off to war. They send those guys off to war to do something, right? Die there, because they understand that when you leave young men alone, right, who are idle, who don't have prospects, who aren't investing in their community, right, they start getting all kinds of funny ideas that, well, maybe I could run this place better, and that becomes an issue. So,
or maybe I can go steal a car, or maybe I can break into a Walmart. That young unemployed men is like a major cause of crime, right?
Big and small issues, yes.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah. So, Scott, if you want to respond to that, or anyone else wants to respond to that.
I'll be very quick because I don't want to get in. I already did enough Austrian economics for everybody's taste, probably. But I'll just say that, yeah, I mean, I completely disagree with you. Like, I hear what you're saying. I think you're just misdiagnosing the problem. And the reason I think it is absolutely socialism, like, for example, you talked about the price of education, right? Well, why is the price of education going up? It's not because it's
we're
more
defunding it.
expensive. It's not because there's, more more and more expensive lab work that just requires more and more money. No, it's because we're heavily subsidizing with socialism education, with, federal student loan programs and grants and things of that nature. And we're pushing people towards that education. And what is, in sociology is called the McDonaldization of education. What we're seeing is education standards lower and lower and lower so that we can get more and more butts in the seat, because it is become credentialism to simply get that degree. And we've seen administrative costs that are completely unnecessary at university after university after university increase orders of magnitude because there is government funding, and so there's less of a price mechanism, and that socialism is driving up the cost of education, which then goes, oh, well, that's why we need more money towards education, and it becomes this vicious cycle. When we talk about cities being less invested in than ever before, I would say the exact opposite is true. We are spending more and more and more money in inner city education, more and more money in, HUD, has consistently gone up in terms of costs. Small Business Authority has consistently gone up over time. We're like, oh, well, these cities aren't invested in. Well, obviously, we need more money and more investment in these places, and yet What we have seen is every government program that is designed to invest in these places has invested more and more money as we go more and more in debt and have more and more inflation, and we're not getting the same return on investment. When we talk about society tells men that they need to be a provider, I think society is a funny word to use when the answer is women. Women are consistently making more money than men and are consistently demanding that men make more money than them. Right? We are seeing, especially as far as young men are concerned in the dating pool, that women are demanding that men meet these standards that only 1 to 5% of men are,
Phoebe.
can possibly achieve. Right? Like they need to be tall, they need to be in shape, they need to be making 6 figures, even though the median household income in America is
The salary expectations are
$64,000.
actually
Right?
crazy. Yeah.
The salary expectations of many women. Now, to be fair, there is a bit of a self-selection mechanism here, right? Because a lot of women have dropped out of the dating pool and they don't show up on fucking, TikToks and things doing street interviews or on the whatever podcasts or, think places like that, right? Like there are a lot of women that have checked out because of the toxicity of online dating and things like that. But nevertheless, women are making more money than men, and they're saying that they're making less money, despite the fact that they are making more money than men. This is just true until we get to the point where they have a child. And then we don't count the government resources that are taken from young men to subsidize single motherhood because of welfare programs as income that they're making, because it's not income. And when we put that together, what do we get? What we realize is that overwhelmingly women are doing better than men in this economy, partly because of the standardization of schooling, which is designed for women and not designed for men, partly because of, DEI programs and things like that, where we've seen the tech industry is only hiring, like, New York Times did a report where they had only hired 6% white men in the last few years, and that 94% had been women or people of color, because of DEI initiatives, both spoken and unspoken. And so you see young men realizing that education's getting more expensive because the government is funneling resources away from them towards other people, that dating is getting more expensive and more difficult because the government is funneling resources away from them towards other people, and that cities and other places are getting more expensive because the government is funneling money away from them towards other people. And instead of saying we should get rid of all of these welfare and socialist systems and return towards liberty and return towards the market, they're not saying that. What they're saying is, I want my check too. I want our country to stand up for Christian white men, because that's an easier solution to sell to them and an easier means than simply saying that we should just get rid of those systems.
So
There's also
okay,
nostalgia they can look back on too, that I think is like an important aspect of this. Where, like, you're right, like young women without children who aren't married, right? Which is often the cohort that these gropers are in, right? Which is going to be young people who are not married and don't have kids. Women do make more money than them, like on average.
Wait,
Yeah.
I just looked that up, and I don't think that's true. I think in like some rare circumstances that is true, but I don't think
it's
that's
absolutely true.
It's true.
Once you account for hours worked, right? When you look at just salaries of young women versus young men, what you realize
Men
is
do
that
work
men
more
tend to work more
considerably.
hours, right? And so if you're just looking at tax returns, young men are doing that. But if you go parity, job for job, and it's important that this is pre-childbirth, right? Pre-childbirth, job for job.
Having a child
women make
tanks
more.
your income.
Women,
Yes.
right?
If you have a
Because
child
you're
as a
out of
woman,
the
it
job
tanks your
market for
income.
like a year or two.
Right, or you got to move to part-time. Like, yeah, the wage gap how they come up with
that's
it
a thing,
is
though, right?
they literally just take all the money that is
Really
earned by men
babies.
and just compare it to all the money that is earned by women. It's like an incredibly oversimplistic way that they calculate the wage gap. When you factor in, go ahead.
Sorry, just a question. Where do you guys fall on the like birth rate stuff? I know everybody's got a
Oh, that's a whole can
some
of
kind
worms.
of.
I agree
So
that
that's a
birth
whole
rate
other
exists.
conversation.
I think it's a problem, and yes, I think feminism.
I think-
I don't believe in birth.
But
I think if you get rid of abortion, then the birth rate normalizes instantaneously.
I don't think that'll do it.
Do you think we should do that?
no.
No, literally, if you just calculate how many abortions were occurred, then you only look at U.S.
Sure, that's
born
fine. Do
citizens.
you think we
The
should do
birth
that?
rate goes to 2.04.
That's fine. Do you think we should do that?
That's like barely above.
Wait, hold on.
replacement.
So I know for a fact there was a fertility when they banned abortion in Texas. There was a fertility rate increase. I don't think it boosted it up to 204 among
No, because you
non-immigrant
can still
families.
just go because you can still just drive out of Texas and go get an abortion. And I'm not
Do you
saying
think
that
that
this
should be
solves
illegal?
everything. All I'm saying is,
Well, how do we
if
know
all
that
other
it goes
things?
up to 205?
I'm not saying
Or
the birth rate
204?
immediately goes up to that. What I'm saying is if you take every single death from abortion and then you just calculate it as a birth, it goes to 2.04. Obviously, culture changes. Obviously, people will start using protections so that they
Yeah.
don't get pregnant, right? Like, obviously, there are other things. I was just throwing
just
in a
get their
quick
tubes
one-liner
tied.
because he was bringing up
Okay.
something that was like kind of
Fair
off of
enough.
what we were saying.
I-
right? Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying it fixes everything.
Yeah,
Getting rid of the socialism would.
now removing if you get rid of abortion, the fertility rate does increase. I'm just going to remain agnostic as to how much it increases, or if it'll actually increase us beyond replacement rate. There's like a lot of factors that go into this. I agree that like feminism, I'll just no problem saying it. I'm an anti-feminist. I have been the whole time. Never lied about that.
What a surprise, conservative
What a
white
surprise!
man. No
I'm
one
a
could- no one is
conservative
coming.
white male who identifies with libertarians. What did
And
you
that's
expect,
illegal.
Prime?
And that's
Well, wait,
illegal in my
the
America.
only
okay?
reason why
What
I
did
like
you
her is not
expect?
because he wants to reduce his Gacio score.
That's
That's
not
it. He
illegal.
wants to minimize his Gacio score.
That's not
it.
illegal in America. Okay?
And what are
It's
you doing about the
illegal
Not yet.
birth
in
rates?
UK and
And
Germany.
what are you doing about the birth rates, Slack?
Not yet.
No,
But by the way, great
I-
conversation, and like the one woman panel comes in right when I'm saying this. That's a good. That's
No,
good
no, no,
timing.
no,
Keep
no.
saying
This is
it.
even
Say it
better.
with your whole
No, it's-
chest.
I'm
this
saying with my
is
whole
even
chest.
better,
Yeah,
right?
I'm not afraid.
Because
Yeah, fuck
no, no, no.
feminism,
So-
obviously.
So
Say you want to
It would be
ban abortion?
insane to
Guys,
support
guys.
feminism.
I'm
Guys,
listening.
hold on,
I'm
hold
listening.
on,
Go
hold
ahead.
on. This is a bet. This is better than you think because, like, I talked to Zealous when I did the same interview I do of all of you guys, right? When you first come on, I asked her, "Hey, like, what don't you want to talk about? What are you interested in? What you don't want to talk about?" And when she said specifically what she didn't want to talk about are gender discussions, right?
Ooh.
Specifically this. She didn't want anything
I
to do with
won't
it.
ask her anything
Um,
specific. I won't ask
So
her.
you just
about
don't want to be on the internet having conversation at all.
And she's not a feminist, so
I don't
don't
wanna
worry.
have
So
any
she's one of
gender
you.
discussions.
Okay,
it.
great.
Well, then we have
There
no
you go.
beef. But so yeah, I mean the birth rate question.
Then why isn't she streaming from the kitchen, huh?
the birth? Oh,
Got him.
I'm not even
You
touching
don't know
that.
that she's not. I mean,
The
you can't
birth rate
really
question,
that.
I think, was a tangent. What were we just talking about before Socrates?
Wait.
threw out the
Okay.
birth rate
So
question?
there's a reason
Oh, the
to
gap,
ask
the
that.
gap. Let me just quickly finish up on the gap.
Okay.
How they got the gender pay gap is they literally just took the combined incomes and then just compared the two. They don't factor in hours worked, and men work considerably more hours. They were more likely to work full-time jobs, and they also don't factor in, again, the income drop that happens after you have a kid. When you start isolating those factors out, so you look at like, okay, let's look
They
at
don't factor in types of jobs either.
right, yeah, young unmarried women without kids and young unmarried men without kids, between which again most of these internet communities consist of. What is the income comparison there? And in that, women make more money. There's been a study on this. Like they just do make more money, and so you have these young men who are being told, like they are being, I think, sort of being made out to be this, this oppressor, this perpetrator. And anybody who says otherwise, I think, it just didn't go through like the U.S. college system, just haven't been around these people. It definitely is a thing. Like this is just a cultural experience that a lot of young men have, and it feels very frustrating to not be as well off as the people who are telling you that you are, and they do it
Okay.
with this very smug kind of like,
this is where I wanted to push back on.
yeah.
So
You forgot to add that women just don't live in reality. There's another thing you forgot
Okay,
to add.
yeah. So this is where
They
I
also
want to push
initiate most
back
divorces.
against you and Scott, and not on the gender pay gap. I do understand that it's a lot more complicated discussion than it's like made out to be in the press, and fair enough.
Thank you.
A nuanced economic discussion being flattened in the press. Who would have guessed, right? But fair, okay.
Yeah.
But the thing that I want to push back on you against, and I promise you, Zelsa, I'm gonna be here forever. We are gonna actually move on to the topic at hand. You just came at like the worst time.
Maybe she has a based opinion on this.
appreciate
I
Yeah,
don't-
who knows?
But so I guess my issue is that, like, I say society is putting this pressure on men, and then Scott, you went and adjusted that saying women are, right? Yes, women are, but women are a product of society too, right? The women get these messages from their mothers, but also their fathers. They get it from mass media. They're told, hey, you're going to find a man who's going to provide for you, right? Who will be the breadwinner. That is the ideal outcome for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're responding to all of that, and so like I push back to say, well, it's a woman.
Yeah, I just quick question: can you name a single functional society throughout all of human history where women were presumed to be the providers and men were not?
Wait, do you want men to be the providers, or can we just like establish some of these things?
Well, no. It's not per se that I want
already too much.
Right? It's not so much that I want men to have some societal imposition of a provider role, right? What I would rather say is that the natural tendency of the market and the natural tendency of free people is such that men tend to be providers. That what we have is we have a natural tendency that is in part rooted in biology and in part rooted in social constructions and things of that nature, especially how it, manifests itself, right? Like there's no natural tendency of men.
When you say natural, what's unnatural about now, present? How can it be otherwise?
Look at
the
it
would be it's
unnatural about that.
No.
My answer.
What do you?
It is unnatural, and it's unnatural because
what are you defining as unnatural? Like
when the extinction of the species, that is
when
unnatural.
the state.
How is that? I mean,
it's unnatural.
How can that?
It's unnatural when the state interferes in the free movement and the free exercise of human behavior.
Why is the state unnatural?
Why is the state unnatural?
Yeah. Okay, humans come up with a state. No.
This is no.
Technically, all things are natural because even if it's artificial, it's made from natural things.
Right.
So.
I would agree. Yes, that's why I asked. What is your definition of natural?
Why do we even have the term artificial? I mean, it's all natural.
True.
Right.
True.
Yeah. Everything. There's no such thing as artificial. Everything is natural, right? Which gets us into this like kind of millennial woes kind of famous quote, right? Like where like the left's primary means of arguing is to just intentionally misunderstand things.
Well, no. You're obsessed with
impossible.
You label Lactoid as socialist. So tell me, what is natural?
Right. What I'm saying is that when people are coerced against their will and against their desires and against their values by an apparatus that is giving power towards a collective to impose its will against man's values and against man's ability to engage freely, then what would naturally occur otherwise? That coercion is stymied by this creation, this man-made construction of the state that is placing in those impositions. Now, if you want to say,
just to clarify, when you say man, do you mean humankind in this case, or man?
Yeah, I mean it like etymologically, right? Where there's withmen and
in any other conversation,
right?
That would be like such like a fucking kind of point, but actually it kind of makes sense in this conversation.
No, it's fine. It's like right, like including both weremen and withmen.
Withmen,
okay?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, like yes, I mean mankind, right? That is my point of contention. My biggest point of contention is that listen, I don't think we should like shame men for not being providers per se. I mean, I do think some level of social shame for like deadbeat dads or like men that like, don't do anything with their life is certainly probably healthy. But like obviously there's a certain level of balance there. What I'm saying is when you say, oh, well, society expects men to be providers, but like we could structure society in some other way, I think is kind of like gets to the heart of the difference between the value structure of conservatives versus left-wing people, right? Which is the left-wing philosophical belief that man ought be shaped by the collective and that we can kind of socially program man to be.
No, that's not a leftoing thing.
I think it is.
That's like a liberal.
Absolutely.
That's a liberal thing. It's not because there's a narco leftism. There's a libertarian left. There's an entire
libertarian left is a contradiction in terms, but
it's
like,
not.
It is.
There's different ways of defining these things, but that's
if you're talking about like lib socks, which are just fucking like anarcho syndicalists by another fucking name. Like,
Okay.
Now Scott's all
right,
about
like-
definitions, but bring up natural. And it's like, whoa, we can't
So
do that.
pedantic.
Can't have that conversation.
No,
now.
you're
He's
trolling
getting the
and
weeds
avoiding
about libertarian
conversation.
lefties, but bring up
Let-
natural. It's like, whoa, what are you talking about here?
Let me.
Yeah, I
let
mean,
me-
you can
let me,
engage in
let
the
me-
argument, or
let
you
me-
can
let
engage
me
in
get
I
this,
tried
trolling.
to,
super-
but you can't.
No, you
Let me
didn't.
get
You
this super
fucking
chat in.
liar.
Oh my
He was-
god.
Okay,
here we go.
He was
Here
being,
we go.
he was
All
being a
right.
dick, but I was being
FQ.
serious.
Thank you for the $5. Modern gender debates come from school performance trends, economic shifts, screen time effects, and the squeeze on the middle class. See YouTube chat.
See
So-
YouTube chat. No, you pay more money for the rest of that. Fucking get out of here.
I appreciate you, FQ. But no,
Yeah,
I
that
think what you-
extra money from being an unmarried woman compared to us. You fucking pay these
She is-
males.
She's an unmarried. But
8%, brothers, never married women. 8% more than never married men.
So, but I think what she's hitting on is that like these are what the gender debates tend to be focused on. That like school performance trends, like or are men or women or boys or girls doing better in schools, right? Economic shifts we were
Yeah,
just discussing. Screen time effects in terms of like, hey, body positivity or the opposite, right? Like is social media causing people to have more eating disorders or something, right? Squeeze in the middle class, I think, which is a bit more generic, where it happens on all of us, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that
I bring a
these are the
libertarian
steps-
analysis to the party that's superior. I get
Thank
it.
you, FQ. For that. We got a few more too. Thank you, FQ. Oh, Alexander Wynn. Oh, hey, we haven't seen you in a bit. Thank you for being here. $10 from Alexander Wynn. Really appreciate it. Sorry, I was super far behind. Back in the debate about Tyson and a I'm not sure what that is. A customer who died because of their negligence. What's to stop Tyson from paying the company you're using to screw you over on that? And before you answer that, because that's going to be a thing.
Yeah, it's way back. So it's just like I'll be
1
super
second.
quick.
YouTube
High time preference
$2
versus
from
low time
FQ.
preference. It's not in their interest.
FQ YouTube is woke and won't let me say it, so I appreciate you on that. We appreciate
Probably
you.
because women
Thank you
work
so much
at
for
YouTube.
that super chat.
That's probably the
But-
reason.
High time versus low time preposition.
Probably
What
male dominated.
stop?
Yeah, I'm just
Tyson
saying
paying company
companies
you're using to
companies
screw you
that attempt to become warlords and circumnavigate circumnavigate other insurance companies and things like that are just begging to have the guns pointed at them. It's just terrible business practice. It's just high time preference nonsense, and Tyson would go out of business to continue behavior like that, because that behavior comes at a cost.
Thank you for the super chat, Alexander. When it's awfully kind of you. Thank you so much. Nice to see you again. I hope you're doing well. And thank you, FQ, for the kind super chats. But I do want to go back to the gender debate just for a little bit. We're not going to be here for long. Okay.
2 more hours.
It's just
I've seen it happen
Right.
before, where he's like, just a second, and then it's like another hour.
We're about to move
hey,
off this topic.
This
don't-
is
I
what
don't
they're
have much to
saying when
say-
they say men lie. Okay, when
I
they,
don't-
all men lie, this is exactly what's happening right here.
Look, guys, I don't want to talk about Elon Musk, but
But
The next three
proceeds
topics.
to talk about Elon Musk. Got it.
oh my god, for the entire rest of the stream, but we won't do it. But anyway, so
This is what's known, by the way, chat, as a performative contradiction. I really don't want to talk about Elon Musk, and then immediately starts talking about Elon Musk.
I'm not
um,
racist, but
no. So I think that
It is another performative
Yes.
contradiction, to be fair.
what?
I'm not
I think
racist,
yes.
but, and then says
Mhm.
racist thing.
Yeah.
have you ever noticed?
We have in our society, right? I think you asked me, hey, is there a society that has been anything but a male provider society, right? Well, we are
I said a functional
Just-
society, right? Like there have been
Functional
examples,
society,
but they
yes.
die out.
they don't last all
They've
that
died out
long.
so far.
But yeah, in any case, right? Like, well, there also isn't this a society where women have been physically larger than men, right? This is what you're moving towards when you mentioned biology, right? Like, hey, there are some biological imperatives, but like, I mean, for a
I mean, that'd be one
for
aspect, but I would
it's
say
one
there's far
aspect.
more than that.
I would agree with you, but looking at that, right, um like up until the, let's say, the into the 19th century, right?
Yeah.
Into the
There hasn't
point
been
of
a force multiplier
industrialization.
like guns and things like that. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yes, exactly, guns, but also just industry, right? Like remotely factories, and then moving away from that into a knowledge economy. Right now, we're having an interesting transition. This is what I'm trying to get to. So I'm doing it clumsily, but like what we're going into is a knowledge economy where strength doesn't matter in the same way, right? Where those who are making the most aren't necessarily isn't because of their physical fitness, right? Like that, and that is completely different from the vast majority of human society. So you ask me, hey, has there been a society where like females have been able to position to provide, right, a functional one, to provide? I say no, but they've had like the deck stacked against them, and they've had a society that oftentimes have violently repressed them, even when they try to assert themselves. So I think in this moment we're seeing an unprecedented shift. I think hopefully one for the better. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to have a society where like women are necessarily quote unquote above men, because that's not what they're even looking to do. I think that as our society changes, as our economy changes, hopefully again to a more knowledge-based economy, as that happens, so will our societal expectations, right, between
Maybe,
the genders. But that's going to
maybe
take a while. There's going to be a lead time there.
I would argue, right, but I won't deny that, like, with an ever changing economy and AI and knowledge economy and things like that, that might, that's certainly going to throw a wrench into what are traditional expectations of gender roles, right? I would still say that there's more to it than simply physicality, right? I think there isn't great research on psychological aspects of gender roles, right? Because most gender role research is done by, feminists and gender studies, women's studies, and, sociologists that are very feminist and or Marxist. What I would say though is that, there I would posit that I would give some credence to the concept of the differences that tend to occur. Obviously, we're talking about um, distributions, right? So they're always outliers. But I would say that one of the biggest gender differences is interest in things versus interest in people. Simon Barron has a piece of research from 2002, which is really really interesting, studying autism and extreme male brain theory of autism, and why we tend to see autism rates be more so showed in males as opposed to females. Some of that you might say is the ability to catch it, but one of the things that he talks about is the concept of female empathizing versus male systematizing, right? And so many of the things that lead toward production, that lead towards accumulation of resources, as well as one of the main things that females have been attracted to for so long, is the male ability to prioritize resources. And one of the things that men tend to be very good at is systematizing production, creation of things, scalability, etc. Whereas women tend to be more focused on things like, empathizing, right? Being able to maintain equality, being able to, engage in work like teaching or, engage in
these feel like
people.
such vague and like
Yeah.
not accurate.
Right,
So
but
like
you can call them vague and not accurate, right? But like, but when
Okay, that's no problem.
when we do studies, for example, of like what are the most egalitarian societies, what we find is in the most egalitarian societies where we have tried to get rid of gender roles to the greatest degree, we find the largest differences between men and women in their chosen fields, with men going towards things like engineering, software engineering, architecture, et cetera, things that deal with things, and women going into the medical profession, teaching things that deal with people. And what we find is that societies that are far less egalitarian, we find that that they're much closer together. One example is Rwanda. In Rwanda, you have a lot of female engineers, you have a lot of female software developers and things of that nature. And so when we do
Well,
everything
which
we
one's the
can,
natural state between those two, between Rwanda and the Scandinavian countries? Which one's the natural state?
again, it's I understand that you're a piece
exactly.
of shit that refuses to engage
Exactly.
in the argument as a whole, but
Of
instead
course,
just
you just
wants
don't
to
like it. That's it.
meme
You
on
just
the
don't like it.
concept of
And
naturalizing.
you can't engage.
No, it's just that you're not engaging with anything, and like you.
I
you might
literally
as well
use your
not be
examples. I
here
just asked you a
because
question.
you don't talk at all.
Which-
You just sit and farm content
Yeah,
until
yeah,
you
of
want to
course.
subvert the
When
conversation.
you're actually challenged, you become.
No, I've
become
already
all-
answered
like
and
a
gone
triggered
through the
snowflake.
concept of
Come to
naturalization,
the left,
and
where the snowflakes are.
I already explained why the state, as a mechanism against the free will and liberty and the volition of people being able to express their
So
values.
your definition of natural can apply
is-
to natural flavors as well, right?
Your definition of natural applies to literally everything in the world, as to thus make the term
I agree. So I'm
useless
asking you
and
to clarify.
dysfunctional.
I'm asking you to clarify.
I have already
Clarify.
clarified.
Okay,
Shut
so
the fuck
it only
up.
has to do with the state.
You have
right?
nothing
It
of
only has to
value
do with
to
the state.
add.
Is that a fair assessment? That natural has
No,
to do
that
with
is
the
not.
state.
No, it's not, and you know it's not. You were just trying to jump on because you want to subvert the conversation so that you can farm a fucking W. When I've already answered
Farm
this
what?
fucking
I'm not
question.
even streaming. What am I farming?
Well, I don't. I guess you're just being retarded for the love of the game.
Yeah, of
I don't
course,
fucking
of course.
know.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you have nothing.
What do you mean I have nothing? I've given you my
I'm farming so much
my
clout, not
answer.
streaming. I
I've
don't
given
post on
you my
Twitter.
I've given you my answer, and you refuse to accept it, and your definition is dysfunctional because it means nothing. Your definition defines everything as natural, and therefore you can dispense
I
with
have
the
no
word
problem saying
natural when
natural
obviously
is not a
there's
useful term. I don't use it. That's why I'm
yes,
asking
you're
you.
trying to throw out the term so that you can make language
Because
more
natural
difficult.
for you is just like what you don't like. That's it.
That's
it.
not my argument
It's
at
just
all,
your
and I've already
preference.
given you my
That's
argument.
it. That's all.
No, I've given you my. Do I need to explain to you a third time?
Okay.
Yeah.
As you interrupt and try and make conversation
Okay,
difficult?
guys. Yeah, sure.
Wait, so I can make some very specific critiques to what you said. So here's two things. So when it comes to natural, I actually do understand your definition. I think it could be a workable one, but I think if you were to apply it more kind of consistently, I think you would have to demonstrate that there were periods in human history where a kind of like, tribal collective somehow didn't coerce people into behavior. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, why
would you put on a standard? Why do I need to accept that standard? Fuck that standard.
That was
Throw
because
that
that was
out.
your because that was your standard. That was your definition.
No, I don't need to
Okay.
say that there had to be an example where people's will and volition
Wait.
in a community was
Okay.
completely free of coercion for me to ever be able to say, like, my argument would be
you
is
can
that the
say
movement
that
of
the
people and the
also
volition.
coercion, but we've always had some form of coercion.
Yes,
Government
we
is
have
the
we have
current
higher
form
levels
of
and we have
coercion.
lesser levels, and I just gave an example where you have when you have higher levels of coercion towards trying to force an egalitarian, like when you try and reduce that coercion towards creating the most egalitarian society, where you try and specifically program people to not be to be as egalitarian as possible. What you get is you still get the tendencies of the differences between men and women to be extreme. That is what I'm
Sure.
saying, is
I
that
wasn't
absent
talking
government
anything-
coercion, you see more of this expressed because that is a natural tendency of man. And that the more coercion you have, the less you have the natural expression of man's behavior.
Wait.
I don't need to make the argument that there was ever a
wait.
society with no
So those
coercion.
societies that enforce that have the most government coercion to enforce equality are making men and women's differences in preference most stark, and that's not natural. So the natural state therefore would be to be very similar. That's what you just said. I'm not making an argument. That's what you just said.
No, what I'm saying is that when society tries to be egalitarian, when a
Okay.
government
Enforce-
tries to
Enforce
Try-
egalitarianism, right?
they
That's
attempt to
specific.
enforce some level of
Clarify.
egalitarianism, then
Okay.
what ends up occurring is that you have the ability of natural expression to be able to showcase itself more in the economy.
Wait,
because
so
they're not
if government
imposing
enforces
gender
more,
roles.
more egalitarianism, it makes things more natural. Do you understand
No,
how
what I'm saying
enormous
is
a
that when the-
contradiction that is?
It's
in your
not
entire
because
stated
you're
worldview so
trying to
far.
frame it as such. What I'm saying is when the government
Yes, I
does
am.
whatever it can to not enforce gender roles and gender stereotypes, to just let people be who they are, what
You're
we
talking
see
about
is gender
Scandinavia,
differences
right?
become Scandinavian countries, right? Like
Is
as
that a country that is
as
like really anti
we're not imposing
gender
they're not
roles at a
imposing
cultural
that
level? Is that really true? I've heard that like sentiment expressed. I've heard people like
I mean, we
Jordan
can pull up
Peterson or
we
whatever
can pull
cite
up the
that.
research. We can pull up the research at some other time.
I would like to. So I want to move on. I want to let our friend Lactoid get his point in, and then I have a super chat to read. It's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a fucking doozy. Prepare for that one. And another one from Alexander Wynn. Alexander Wynn, I see your super chat. I'm going to read that in our transition between this topic and the actual topic that we've got scheduled. Okay, but I am going to read that super chat. 1 second. But first, let's get our friend Lactoid, and then that second super chat.
I'm gonna get a drink. I'll be right back.
I think Scott's right, and I guess I'll just maybe say it a little bit differently. When he's talking about, generally speaking, there being a difference in the way men and women think and the way men and women exist in the world biologically, and this informs gender roles. I think if we break it down to its contingent parts, you just have to accept this, right? Like very consistently, studies find that estrogen increases empathy, right? To the point like actually being able to humanize with somebody. Estrogen also dramatically increases neuropathy. It increases anxiety and makes people more anxious about the future. Men consistently perform better in spatial rotation tasks. If you give women testosterone, they actually report a drop in neuropathy. Or sorry, not neuropathy.
Neuroticism.
Anxiety?
Neuroticism. Yeah, neuroticism. Sorry, neuroticism. When you
I think
give
you have some neuropathy, maybe.
Sure, that would just be loss of feeling in a particular limb, I think. So, neuroticism is the correct word. Sorry, neuroticism. Like all of this is influenced by hormones. If you give women an increase in testosterone, they begin developing mind states more similar to how we perceive men. And if you give men estrogen, like for example, when you give people who are transitioning to transgender women, when you give them estrogen, the way they approach the world does change. They become more empathetic on an individual level. They just like Scott said, they have less of a desire to engage in systemizing tasks, and as opposed to more direct, empathetic, working with people tasks. And it's not a surprise then if we see such a consistent, strong scientific correlation between these hormonal effects on people, why we see like nursing or young early child care or the specific careers that are most directly associated with direct interpersonal workings be dominated by women. And then you see the careers that are, primarily kind of more detached, systemized, above the shoulders mustard shit, right? Like engineering, be dominated by men. It's only when, what Scott's point was, it's only when you have a society in which there is for whatever reason, a tremendous incentive for women to overcome this and move into fields where they could perhaps make money. And they could obtain some kind of career dominance to escape some kind of artificial oppression, let's say, that you see, whatever,
Not an actual oppression?
that you see.
Just what he doesn't like. That's it. Just a preference.
Look, I'm not getting as hung up on the whole natural fertility, but regardless.
We all
What Scott's
don't like
point is
oppression,
that's when you see a little bit of a difference, right? Not all the way, but a little bit of a difference. But when women don't feel like they have to, what are the roles that they naturally tend to fall into? They tend to fall into careers, again, that are more based in what their hormones dictate, in the same way that men are more apt to fall into careers that their hormones dictate. And not only that, well, hold on real quick. It's not only that, like just the rock solid science that demonstrates these hormones have effects on the way people think and brain over time, brain development. literally changing the way you operate. There's a whole bunch of other physical differences that are also relevant to how gender roles are structured. The ability to have children, this matters a lot when we're talking about one person going out and doing like the work or the hunting, and the other one staying home and taking care of the kids. There is a reason
and
why
doing
almost
the
every
work at home.
there's a reason why almost every mammalian species operates this way. I think it's just wild how we can look at humans
Yeah, but
and
the
say,
work
well,
at home isn't resource allocation.
yeah,
It's eating bonbons,
every other species
chilling,
of
watching
almost
TV, housewives.
yeah, with some
Like
exceptions,
getting
every
money.
other mammalian species operates this way.
Yeah.
And the hormones like demonstrably show, that this actually does have an effect on minds. Oh, and also just like logically, it would make sense. Like, oh, if you're the one that can breastfeed and you're the one that can like give birth, like maybe there's going to be some correlation there with you being the one to stay at home, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You look at all that, and then you just take a step back and say, no, it's all just social pressure. That's all it is.
Okay,
Gender roles aren't
hold
real.
on.
It's all just social pressure.
Okay.
None of that science is real.
Okay. All right. First of all,
I think that's ridiculous. I think it's a ridiculous statement.
I think what's happening here, one, that Lactoid is having flashbacks to arguments he's had on Twitter. Because no one here, at least I don't recall anyone saying that none of these pressures have anything to do with biology or anything to do with any like based on something outside of simple societal trends, right? Like I don't think anyone
That's
here
most
denies
feminists.
that. The most feminists. Hey, are
That
the
is,
feminists
like, the
here? Are
vast
they
ma-
talking to you now? Do you see them?
I thought you defined yourself. Hold on, you've defined yourself as a feminist in the past. Forgive me for assuming that you would hold this crazy belief as well. So you agree that gender
we're
roles
winning.
You agree
we're
that
slowly converting
maybe
him.
we're winning. Do you?
He's
He's not a
do you-
feminist anymore.
Prime, do
Wait a
you
minute,
agree that gender roles are biologically informed? At least, do you agree with that?
I do, but like in the most liberal and the most like open, the most like the diluted version of that, yes. Because I'm sure what I think when I'm thinking when I say that is different from what you're thinking. And we need space to like discuss that, and that's why I'm not going to give us that space because I am going to move on. But like I want to have that discussion with you, friend. But like I think you're loading a lot more on that than I would. Just a quick response is that like I would say that yes, they're like there's no way that hormones don't have an effect on people and like how they operate. This is known, right?
And the way they think.
And so there's no reason to think that wouldn't happen on a gendered basis. If like there is a across the board like different ratios of these chemicals in the brain, right? We all have testosterone, estrogen in our bodies, right? Men and women. But like the ratios are different.
Very
My
different
understanding.
ratios. Yeah.
Yeah, my understanding.
Well, to be fair,
of that, right?
to be fair,
And so,
young men today have less testosterone than their grandfathers. So who
So
knows?
still-
Women are
Indeed,
still
yeah.
way below. It's not even close. But
Yeah, it's
But-
not even close.
but in any case, right? So I can see that. But I think that how that plays out in societal level, that like is much more complicated. I think humans are much more complex than like I'll say your side, and I don't mean that derisively. Your side tends to boil that down, right? I think it comes down to a talking point about testosterone, estrogen, and you layer
There's more to it than
a
that,
lot
but that's
more
a big one.
meaning on that, and a lot more power on it than it actually has. But I'll leave that there, because otherwise we're gonna have a big fight on this. We're gonna have a big fight on this. But I appreciate you. So let me get these super chats out of the way. We got one that's gonna accelerate this, but we'll see. And then we'll move on. So FQ says $10. Thank you, FQ, so much for the kindness. Do it, Prime. Read the anti-woke feminist chat. Okay. All right. So she sent me something. In our DMs, and I'm gonna read it. we'll see what happens. Okay. And I can also copy and paste this into our group DM so you guys can see it because it's kind of long. Anyway,
Do that now, then, so we can read
it says
along with you.
Yeah, sure, I'll do it right now. Copy, paste. All right. She says, let's play a math game with our favorite right-wing topic, IQ. Imagine I am king Kim Jong-un, I imprisoned 50 men and 50 women in one room. To save our failing birth rate, I forced men and women of roughly the same IQ to marry. The graph below depicts their IQ distribution. I got to send you the graph. Sorry. As you can see, women have a lower standard deviation from 100 IQ compared to men. This will result.
Graph, but okay.
Roughly, I'm gonna send that graph in a second. This will result roughly in 5 lower IQ men and 5 higher IQ women with no match. A surplus of roughly 10 middle IQ women remain left over. Out of our room of 100 people following the equality standard, roughly 20 men and women remain unmatched. I am now left in a bit of a pickle. As dictator of North Korea, I am left with 3 options. A, even distribute the surplus women to both low and high IQ men. B, force the surplus women to only marry high IQ men with about 5 low IQ and 5 middle IQ women left over. Or C, allow 20% of the room's population to remain unmatched. Congratulations, you now understand why women go after the Chad. And so this is what she's
making a false
referring
assumption
to.
that IQ is associated with
Copy
Chadness.
image. Let's see if
Okay.
I
No,
can,
I can respond.
This is the graph. So you can take a look at that. And she says, let me read 2 other things that she sent. She says also, one more thing: income matters to women, at least in large part, because it's combined with IQ, and it's one of the fastest way to sift through dozens of options to choose a mate of higher intelligence. That would be the price mechanism. That sounds like that to me. And then finally, she says, it's not simply about resource allocations. It's a sign of intelligence, which women care about in order to pass down their children. I'll copy and paste that as well. So you can respond to that.
So I don't know if this is the full graph, but I love graphs that have like no axes labeled and it's percentage and like there's no numbers. Those are always the best quality graphs.
I can independently verify it. I just wanted to say
it's just a representation of the variability hypothesis. Right. Okay, and there's research to back that up. Please stop subverting the conversation.
But this was in reference to, I think, an earlier question or an earlier kind of spat between Socrates and Scott, which is like, do you want the kind of, male kind of like the male-led society in the sense that like they're the ones going out and working and making the money, or do you want this kind of feminism kind of angle? And I think the problem here is, at least from my position, I think that having the men be the providers makes sense based on all the biological arguments I just made. I'm not going to rehash that. But the concern is when you try to take the best of both, and this is what I'm accused like feminism generally of doing, is where we try to take the best of both worlds and then like keep none of the bad, right? Because at the end of the day, it's an interest organization. It's basically like a union. It's not actually an equality movement. It's aimed at addressing inequalities that affect women negatively, and it completely ignores, like, you're not going to see a feminist rally where they're all out marching for greater sentencing for women for the same crime, despite the fact that the gender gap is much greater than the racial gap. You're not going to see that. Nobody cares about that. Nobody talks about that because that's not actually in the interest of the feminists, right? Their interest is to appease their base, and their base is going to be primarily women that want to achieve certain ends, and they don't want to lose that support.
And men.
Sure, I mean that's a fair critique of white liberal feminism. That's fair.
Well, hold on. And you can call it white liberal feminism, but like that's all brands of feminism that I have run into in my 30 years of existence. So whatever wisdom that grants me, has been like I've not, and I've honestly that kind of feminism seems to be like the same whether it be a black woman feminism or an Asian woman. I don't see it
black
like
woman
specific.
Feminism.
Yeah, well, you said white women, white liberal feminism. I mean, I understand that like it's easier just to toss it on the whites, but I mean this is a multiracial problem. I think it's a multiracial coalition.
Socrates, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, look up Bell Hooks' Will to Change.
Is she white?
No.
Damn, I wish I would have got you on that.
If you want your brain to be muddled with contradictions and nonsense, read some Bell Hooks, boys.
What do you have against Bell Hooks in particular?
Let him count the ways.
It's gonna be a big fight. It's gonna be a big fight. We're gonna ignore that for now. Sorry,
He's
hold on.
unnatural.
So what?
actually.
So what I'm going to say is
But just wait.
I totally understand why women go for the Chads. Women should go for the Chads. It should be a society that emphasizes male production. That's all
Ads
good
with
and
the
dandy.
motorcycles.
We just have to. I just want these women to fucking accept it. That's what I want. I just want women to
Chads
say,
with motorcycles
yes,
and the law
I am
degrees,
fine
they-
being the housewife. That's what we need. Okay, we need more of that.
No,
So the
hold on.
reason,
No,
the reason that I brought this up is because this book by a very renowned, one of the preeminent feminists of the last century, talks about how she feels like feminism lost its way in terms of, and many feminists lost their way in terms of forgetting that men are at the same time the primary victims of patriarchy, and that they're not, men individually and men as human beings are not the establishers of patriarchy. They are victims of patriarchy at exactly the same time as women. And so if you want to be able to be serious about your speaking on these topics, and you say something like, well, I haven't encountered a feminist speaking on this topic in this way. If you read this book, and it's not a crazy long book, and it was a pretty easy read. It wasn't like jargon heavy, painful philosophy. It's a very straightforward, easy to read book. You can read this, and then you won't be able to say that anymore, and you'll be able to talk about specifically what the academia says about
Look,
this.
hold on. Anybody can publish a book. This person,
Okay.
I've never heard of this fucking
No,
person.
Okay,
hold on,
whatever.
This
I don't know.
person. No. This
As-
person is not in the cultural zeitgeist. When you see
Holy
the
shit,
feminist,
yes, she
no,
is.
they're not.
Yeah.
No, you're wrong.
No,
You're just
yes.
wrong on this.
no. Wait, hold on. When you look at every major feminist movement, are you saying that they've read this book and they're like, you're right, we should march to raise sentences for women? Weird. I never see it.
No,
yes,
no, it's
maybe
more like
this is going to be
prison
some.
abolition.
Maybe this is going to be some concessions in a book that some sociologist writes.
No.
Whatever. It doesn't actually
just so
inform
far off
any of the
base,
movements that I see.
I don't know why you would talk about this if you're not familiar. Why would you talk about it in this way if you're not familiar with it? I don't get it.
Because
Yeah,
I
to
can
say-
experience the cultural zeitgeist of
Yeah,
America.
I'm sorry, friend.
But that's just
I- it-
feelings.
it-
Those aren't
this
facts.
shows-
Those don't have anything.
this
Do you have an
shows,
example to prove me wrong?
hold
Of a
on.
current feminist organization that actually has any kind of political clout
Okay.
that is taking this whole we gotta
the
fix the
thing
male
that you're
problems?
asking for doesn't make sense. No one's advocating for that because it's
Yeah.
someone's advocating.
Because
right?
why
Someone
isn't
out
anybody
there is
advocating for that?
Yes.
Why isn't anybody advocating for that?
Advocate for
Hold
it.
on, because you're asking for something ridiculous, and in fact, we have an answer for you.
What's ridiculous?
Sorry, hold on. No, sorry. I'm gonna tell you what's ridiculous about this.
Tell me.
Right? One, it's showing right that in your 30 years of experience,
And my doctorate.
right, you haven't run across the name
Doctorate,
bell
don't know
hooks, right?
about bell
This is your
hooks?
first time,
No,
right?
not
And
a
then you
doctorate
think-
in degrees
I know,
that don't
I know. And look, I
Why'd
don't
you bring that
blame
up?
you for that, right? Look, you run into things when you do that. You learn things when you do, right? I'm not saying you're wrong or something, but I'm saying that it shows that your experience in this field, right? This field that you're critiquing so hard is very tiny. It's very limited, right? Bell Hooks is extremely famous. She's definitely within the zeitgeist when we're talking about feminist discourse. Absolutely, right? That's a gap in your knowledge, and that's okay, right? Again, I'm not trying to hit you, blame you on that. But that's simply the fact.
Let me I guess
but-
explain
but
then
hold on.
what I tried. No, hold on.
But
Let me explain that.
Let me finish my point.
Well, did you just make a point?
No,
You said I'm
no, that was
uninformed.
the first part. That was point one.
I want to
That's
address
point
that point. That point's more interesting to me.
one. Well, then you'll probably want to address the second point as well, right?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a really.
Well, I know
substantive
Prime's gonna
point.
make a second point. It's
Oh,
very
okay,
important.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah, you're talking about, hey, why aren't people marching for equalized sentencing, right? Well, the feminists
Higher sentences.
the higher sentencing, right? Well, within feminist thought, within intersectional feminist thought, they think about the prison culture. They think about incarceration, right? And with the dominant school of thought there would be, we want to reduce incarceration all around, right?
Mhm.
They would say that, hey, we would have like to have not a retributive justice. What's the other word for it?
Restorative justice.
Restorative. Thank you. Restorative justice.
Or social
we would
justice.
want to,
Sure.
or social justice, right? We
Well,
want to
that's where it came
reduce-
from.
Yeah.
We want to we want to reduce our reliance on the carceral state. We want to vastly lower that. We would say that they would say that like a portion of that population is due of male population is due because of the pressures of patriarchy. That's why they end up there in the first place. They'd want to get rid of those pressures, so they want to vastly lower the amount of people within prison in the first place, right? If not being a straight up prison abolitionist, right? So you're asking literally the wrong question when we were discussing this. And again, this is I don't say this to say that you're dumb or anything like that, right? I'm just saying that like your knowledge here is clearly lacking.
No. Okay, I'm going to address both points.
No.
I know you don't take me as dumb. That'd be impossible, and it's also possible for smart people to have gaps. I'm not taking this in terms of personal offense. What I'm taking this in the sense of I feel like you guys aren't understanding what I'm saying. If we want to take a dive into like these esoteric academic areas of gender philosophy or gender theory or et cetera, et cetera.
What do you mean?
I'm making my point. I'm making my point.
You've already failed 3 words into the point.
He's making his way downtown.
Maybe I can redeem myself at the end of the sentence.
Okay,
just give me a second.
I trust. I believe.
Do you? Anyway,
I'm a believer.
What I'm saying is that if this was a hey, let's have a study on like gender philosophy, etc., or like a I want to say like Bible study, but like a gender philosophy study where we all get together and like people bring up.
Told you it was going to take an hour, by the way.
These feminist. Yeah, that's a good point. These feminist writers, etc.
I said too.
I'm sure that knowing who Bell Hooks is going to be relevant and like these theories. Now, I would disagree with this person. I assume what this person's writings are generally because I
You
as
would
a
disagree
defender.
with everything she said.
Yeah,
Yes,
as a
sure.
defender
We've
of
never
the
heard of her.
so that's why I said I assume. All right.
As a black woman or what? What do you?
I mean, yeah, that's all of it for sure. But I would as a defender of gender roles, I would likely disagree with her. If you're saying this particular writer happens to avoid the pitfalls of hypocrisy and obvious interest pursuit that the actual feminist movement and organizations and the vast majority of feminists that you run into and the people who vote based on feminist ideals, et cetera, the actual political power associated with the movement, these people do not avoid the pitfalls of hypocrisy or the pitfalls of like brazen interest pursuit, where they are just hyper fixated on their own single agenda, which is I want to pursue policies that benefit me as a woman, and I don't want to pursue policies that benefit them as men. And that's where most of this comes from.
Do you when we talk about when we bring up white feminism, right? Understand why we call it white feminism isn't to attack the whites, right? It's not like,
I think it is. It's like people talk about white women. White women.
I think it is because you have such little understanding of this subject, right? Yes, the base understanding says yes. It says the word white in front of it, so they must be.
I went to college. I dealt with these people. I know what they think.
I know you went to college. Yes, I know you went to college, and I know that like you were too busy being like upset and butthurt about what these people were saying, but to actually intake like the knowledge. Hey,
I was let into their inner circle. I was a leftist.
The reason, hold on. The reason, because you're wrong here. The reason why we call it white feminism is because it's not multidimensional. That like feminism, as it was originally created within the Western tradition, right? Was created by middle class white women, right? And they did it. To your point, right? To your point. The feminism they created, the things that they pushed for were specifically for their interests, for their class interests, right? So those individuals, yes, they would like fall perfectly into what you're saying. I would agree with you when we're talking about white feminism. Now, again, it's not to attack simply white people. It's just to say that that feminism
hold on.
Wait. This is the second point. I want to disagree with this one.
We can't because if you do, Scott, and I'm not trying to stifle you, friend.
I actually want to just like marry this real quick so we can move on. Right?
Okay.
Oh wait, he made a point that I have to address, and he's reiterating it.
Lactoid, let's just agree to move on a little bit. All right? Listen, bell hooks is super popular in any feminist class you take. If you take gender studies, women's studies classes, you will absolutely learn about bell hooks. because along with Kimberly Crenshaw, she's based these two
I know
people.
Kimberly Crenshaw.
These two people essentially created intersectional feminism. Right now, Bell Hooks gets less respect than Kimberly Crenshaw, right? But like, Ain't I a Woman came out long before Kimberly Crenshaw had any major publications. The main thesis of like Bell Hooks in general, right, is that feminism solves everything, but also feminism needs to include class struggle and anti-racism, right? So it needs to be explicitly Marxist, and it needs to be explicitly critical race theory and feminism all in one thing. And that white feminism, right, is like an imperialist form of feminism that castigates black women to the sidelines. It doesn't care about what happens to women in Africa, for example, or doesn't care about, the struggles that are specific to black women, right? And she's very, like, one of the major things that she brought towards feminism, for example, was a critique of the feminine mystique and the concept of like the white suburban mom stuck at home, which was like a big part of second wave feminism. And she's like, hey, dude, black women, right? So you recognize the theory, just not the name.
No. I'm disagreeing with how this is used in like the common zeitgeist. This has been my point the entire time. This is why I'm trying to like specifically delineate. And my criticism is with the feminist movements.
You're not.
No. If we were in it,
you're not disagreeing with what I'm saying. You're actually agreeing with what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that her flawed and fucked up logic is that we will fix it with more feminism, and feminism is specifically towards creating like fix. No, you're harping. You're harping. Listen,
maybe, but
relax.
I guess I'm not getting heard.
You're completely correct that feminism never was and never has been and never will be about actually equalizing the genders, and it is always focused on the things that benefit women and in Bell Hooks's example, benefit blacks and benefit, the proletariat all together, whilst at the same time completely ignoring and casting aside any of the negative impacts that occur on men, etc. Unless it is a tool. Unless it is a tool for saying that feminism helps everybody. And the way she does that is she says that you're not punished for your gender.
Yeah.
And she ignores gender problems to say you're punished for your class.
Yes.
You're punished for your race.
And she categorizes anybody who doesn't go along with this as participating in this white liberal feminism. And this white liberal feminism is like a stamp that they're using for any kind of non-intersectional feminism. I understand.
Exactly. Yes.
I understand what that's being said. It's not me misunderstanding. I'm saying that right there is not the political zeitgeist. What the political zeitgeist is they will see, like, say, oh, white women, oh, white liberal feminism. It is much more about the white than it is about the liberal feminism. My only argument here is that, like, black liberal feminism, like these black feminists, all this stuff, even I'm assuming this person who I haven't read, but I definitely think it is the case with Crenshaw. All of their movements are also just self-interest organizations masquerading as equality organizations. That's my criticism. I understand what they say. I'm calling them liars. That's what's going on.
White. You can be a black person who is a white feminist. That's a thing. It's not about the race of the individual. Like it's talking like Scott had it correct when he's talking about.
If you're like a second wave or third wave feminist, but you're a black woman, but you're ignoring black issues,
I'm sure they're saying
then you're a white feminist.
I'm sure you're saying that, but when Democrats hear, what do they say? Oh, black women are carrying the party on our back. It's the white liberal feminists, these suburban moms. They're the problem. It's the black women who are carrying the party on our back.
Black women are a huge portion of the voting base for. Okay, sorry.
Well, hold on. Let me just admit that two things can be true at the same time.
Yeah,
I think you're kind of speaking against each other because, yes, from a theory-driven perspective and from the arguments made by Bell Hooks and other people, Prime is right. When we're talking about in practice, you're absolutely right, because in practice, the theory is one based off of resentment against white people, against wealthy people, and against men.
That has been my
entire argument. All is almost entirely motivated by resentment.
Okay, this is.
I know that's been.
This is not true, but there's a piece of it.
Socrates, wrap it up for us. You got whatever you're saying. It'll be a final thing.
We didn't even get to talk about Kim Jong-un and the Chad IQ distribution.
Well, no, there's another super chat, so we're gonna stay on this topic for a little bit longer. By the way.
Okay. Let me do my thing in like 2 sentences, and then we can go to the super chat. Okay, in like 2 sentences. everything ever is advocating for some kind of interest. Okay, that's not a critique of anything. It's advocating for an interest. What that scope of interest, what the scope of that interest, that's the relevant piece. So when people are critiquing, oh no, white, liberal, suburban, feminist, whatever, the thing they're critiquing is that the interest is really, really narrow. More woman drone pilots, right? That's the meme, okay? So you're not critiquing all of these different things that are
No,
right.
I agree with you.
Right?
I agree. I agree. I agree with you.
yeah.
That's why I'm a
And-
libertarian, because I advocate for the smallest minority, the individual.
Yes,
The
gamers.
individual.
Yes. Okay.
Unlike you,
And then-
who's against minorities.
Yes, exactly. And
Okay.
what Bell Hooks is talking about is that men need to be included, and men historically have been included, but not enough. And that way has been lost in a lot of spaces, as you're experiencing. I'm not trying to disregard your experience. What you're saying is absolutely true, and she's right. I think this would be honestly gratifying for you to read, because she's speaking to that exact experience.
Socrates, you're going too far now, brother.
She might be right in that specific part of it.
Yeah.
No,
But that's the thing, is that she's emphasizing the way that to be consistent about advocating for feminism and for the gains of feminism is that
you must
the
also be
focus
Marxist,
also
and you
has
must
to be-
also be
No,
racist. We got it.
Shut the fuck up. That you also have to be making sure that men are part of the thought leaders of that movement, are included in that conversation, and that the plight of men is understood at a first person level and at a theoretical level in the ways that men are injured by lots of things in our society. That we could disagree about the names, but she's advocating for inclusion of men as a primary player within feminism.
I absolutely agree with you there. Like Blacktoid, like you think I don't understand your argument. I do understand your argument. I think you misunderstand what part of it I'm disagreeing with. Like if you're talking about, especially like you said specifically the parts of the feminist movement that are in power, right? Those parts, right? Yeah, they practice a lot of what you're talking about, right? I would agree with you about those movement, like literally the fucking what was it called? The Times Up movement, right? The Times Up organization is exactly an example of what you're talking about and what Bell Hooks is critiquing, right? Both of those things could be true at the same time. So I agree with you. Yes, with a lot where a lot of the power is at, right? How feminism was enacted onto the women in Iraq, right? I have a whole big spiel about that. But that was an example of what
Before you
you're
said in
talking
Iraq,
about.
you were pointing down to the women and then pointing at the
Oh,
only
sorry,
woman
sorry.
on the panel.
But-
I just
but-
thought that
but-
was funny. The women.
Iraq is somewhere. Iraq is somewhere, right? I would agree with you.
Over
You're
there.
misunderstanding where somewhere all around, right? But like I would agree with you that there
That's the imperialist nature of white
imperialist
feminism,
nature
by the way.
of their movements.
That would be
but I'm
Bell Hooks'
leaving
argument.
there. I gotta
I'd
read
be
this
pointing down.
chapter.
Or as,
I don't want to
as Socrates said, more female drone pilots. As the meme.
Lactoid, yeah, lactoid is diverting from intellect on purpose. Low IQ men apparently you can't put IQ in YouTube.
Oh my
Low IQ men
god.
had an easier time with marriage and status in 1971 than in 2025, which is why gender wars carry the uprising of the proletariat vibe to them. An easier
I
time-
could go on about this, but I'm just going to let us
Which is-
move.
Yeah, I
Okay.
guess.
So
I
noble.
would just,
I love it.
well, to answer it, I guess. First of all, very unscientific of YouTube to not allow you to reference the solid science of IQ. I'm not kidding. This is like obviously politically motivated.
He
This
gets
is
very
bullshit.
upset about this.
This is absolute bullshit. This is
Well,
like
yeah.
obviously like leftism infecting the cultural zeitgeist and being anti-science, right? I get just as angry as this as if I see somebody come on and say global warming isn't real at all. Nothing's happening. No, this is unscientific. This is completely unscientific. IQ is real. It matters. To answer the question,
No.
is
I don't think
real.
she's disagreeing with IQ
No.
being real.
No, I'm not. This is not targeting her. I'm
This
attacking
is a
YouTube right
tangential
now.
rant of Lactoid.
Yeah, this is a tangential rant where I shit on YouTube, 100%.
What he's saying is fuck Neil Mohan.
Maybe. I don't know who that is.
That's the CEO of YouTube.
Oh, well, there you go. The answer to the question,
I thought you were a streamer and you don't know that. That's weird.
I didn't know that.
I don't
either. I
fucking.
had no idea.
You didn't know it either.
I
Okay,
don't-
whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
For
I'm not,
shame
I
on all
wasn't
of you.
Not
trying.
Bell Hooks, not the CEO.
Corey
He's
knew
like,
it.
Come on,
Corey knew it.
Not anyone.
I wasn't
Corey
trying
knew that
to-
shit, didn't you, Corey?
Oh God.
Yes, I had
CEO
the
feminism.
I wasn't trying to just divert from intellect on purpose. That's never my intention. I'm perfectly happy talking about intellect. It is two things are 100% true. It is 100% true that income is strongly correlated with IQ, and it is also true that IQ is one of, if not the strongest predictor of romantic pairings. People tend to be very attracted to people who are either kind of close to themselves or higher in IQ. This is a very, very strong phenomenon.
She would agree with you, and
Yeah.
her whole thing about IQ is that there was an imbalance in terms of. Well, maybe this might be distortion what she's saying, but there's
According
an
to FQ,
imbalance in a
Einstein's a
distribution
Chad.
between IQ, right? Between men and women. This creates an imbalance within the dating market that it makes sense to use as a proxy, right? To balance that imbalance would be money, right? Would be salary. That is a good indicator.
I think that's a
position.
dog shit argument, to be honest. I think it's actually probably the exact opposite. It's that
I don't know.
resource allocation is important to building a stable family, and IQ tends to correlate strongly with the ability to gain resources. I don't think there is a lot of evidence to suggest that women are specifically deeply attracted to IQ, and then a lot of money is just like a proxy for that. I think they're more so attracted to stability for a potential family,
No,
and that
hold on.
IQ is an
can give
aspect or
you-
element of that.
No,
That's what. Yeah, that's what I meant.
No, I understand. I understand what you're.
If that was the case,
misinterpretation.
Bill Gates would have like 72
I-
fucking watts. You know, what
I
I
understand.
mean?
I understand.
But-
Yes,
Non-zero.
you're
Well,
right.
he's got a lot of matrices.
He's a Chad for sure.
On the subconscious
sure,
level,
right, exactly.
On this,
He's not.
There could be something on the subconscious level of like you see that somebody makes a ridiculous amount of money, and then you might assume like, oh, they must be smart. I mean, they're making all this money. There could be a little bit of that phenomenon going on. Well, I guess what I'm saying is that like. There's going to be a strong correlation between the two regardless, right? Like if a woman meets somebody who makes a lot of money, like, oh, like I think when women say they want to date guys that make a lot of money, it's not just because they want the money, it's because they tend to like guys that make a lot of money because those kind of guys also tend to be smarter. And my response to this is very simple. I want a society in which women are pursuing the smartest, richest men, and the smartest, richest men are pursuing the most fertile, intelligent women, and everybody else can just go pound sand. That's my perfect ideal society.
Or ride a motorcycle.
Gauch says it's all quote unquote meritocracy and quote unquote IQ matters until the culture of dating capitalism murdered sexual communism for flunky men. Well, basically, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher your argument, FQ. But I mean, I think this is one to strike against red pillars. And two, saying that now all of a sudden men have all these excuses for their failures, right? When before it's about a meritocracy, before it's about IQ, right? But then it's like, oh, well, now these people are getting ahead in life, right? Being women, and now that doesn't matter. Now it's not my IQ that's the problem. That's not why I'm failing. It's because meritocracy doesn't exist anymore, right? That's why these women are getting jobs, right? And I'm being left behind. And so, like a bunch of excuses for men who aren't.
Man, you make the red pillars sound more correct and base than they actually are.
I need to say one thing real quick. So in your chat, there's somebody who says you can't even measure IQ. So look up what an IQ test is. Anyway, we can continue now.
Okay. All right.
You can't measure G factor perfectly.
We are going
IQ is an attempt to measure G.
This topic behind now. It's happening. It's happening.
Amazing.
And as I do that, I'm going to read another super chat. It doesn't have to do with this. For $10 from a while ago, Alexander Wynn says, been a busy end of the year, and thanks for reading. I don't think the answer is meaningful. The answer that Scott gave previously about what was it?
Well, I don't
Tyson.
think the answer is meaningful.
But maybe, but maybe I'm misunderstanding some things. I'll see if he wants to talk about it offline later. So
yeah, my DMs are open.
Yeah. Hit him up, Andrew Wynn. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay. So beyond that, all right. Yeah, we're gonna move. Thank you. Mike from Canmore gifted one membership to the YouTube channel. That's really kind of you. Thank you so much for the kind of support. Okay. Really kind. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're gonna move on to our next topic, right? If you enjoyed the pre-show, if you enjoyed
A 2-hour pre-show.
compared
Just
to
imagine how good the show is gonna be.
yeah, right.
That wasn't even the
compared
show,
to
you
like
guys.
the 1 hour and 10 minutes left of the actual show. If you enjoyed that pre-show, well then what you should do is you follow the channel, right? You should follow us on Twitch. You should follow us on YouTube. You should follow us on Kick. I finally made a Kick account. So we're streaming on Kick now. How's the gambling? I hope it's going well. Use some of that money that you're winning, right, on the channel. I don't even know what they're called. Kick subscriptions, memberships. I literally don't know. I just made it last week. I have no clue. But consider following the channel, one or the other. Being a part of the community. Really appreciate anyone who might be watching on Kick. I don't even want to look at the numbers. I'm sure it's like 2 people. Thank you for anyone who was here. Oh, also I made a TikTok the other day. So TikTok at Prime Kai, right?
What? I can finally get
yeah.
on TikTok and stream with you. I have
He'll
some
be
subs
out.
there.
Yeah, and he'll be banned within the week.
Well, hold on. I did make a TikTok, right? I can't stream yet because you have to like get a certain
I have
number
1,000
of
followers.
I think it's a
it's
lot
100.
lower than 12,000. A lot.
It's
a lot
1,000.
lower than that.
1,000 followers.
Oh, well, okay. Well, somewhere. In any case, I haven't reached that level, right? But one thing is for sure, I will not be streaming the Reverie on TikTok, right? Why?
There's a lot of money to be made.
Because of
Prime,
this motherfucker right here. That guy?
Prime,
that
doesn't
guy?
even
Yeah,
matter.
that one.
Prime, that doesn't even matter. We'll have a separate talk. There's a lot of money to be made on TikTok, and I'm happy finally people are starting to get on, so we can.
Okay,
we
we'll
do
have
this.
a discussion.
I've only
Yeah,
been
no.
banned from TikTok 3 times. Okay.
And Twitter once or
So-
twice.
We need to kill the term unalive though. That is
Because
a
of
awful
Twitter's
Yeah, it's
TOS,
awful.
I've never been banned from Twitter. What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
true. Yeah. My bad.
So I have much love for my friend Scott, right? He is not algorithm safe, unfortunately. And I love that about him. I love that about
Yeah.
my friend Scott. I'll be doing other things on there, right? Our friend Corey and I were streaming on Dr. Gregory's channel. Dr. Gregory was here with us last week. And we did like a thing together. That was a lot of fun. So come follow me on TikTok and Kick. Yeah. So I can put the link for TikTok into the description. Oops, sorry, into the thing. I'll do that in a second. Okay. In any case, we'll move on to the topic at hand. It only took. We just had a little tangent. It's like no big deal, guys. I don't know what people are upset about. Okay. All right. Okay. So, and we can get rid of this banner. We can get rid of this banner. All right. Okay. Here we go. All right. We're on task, as always, here on the Prime Kai channel. All right. Police are using a new automated.
She wants us to talk about it again. Bring it back. Bring the conversation back.
As soon as you remove the banner of our women ruining America.
Yeah, she had nothing to do here. Police are using a new automated license plate reader that tracks billions of callers per day. While this technology is not new, Flock Safety has created an integrated system that combines there she is that combines this across law enforcement agencies nationally. This data across law enforcement agencies nationally, and it all can be accessed by police without a warrant. Should systems like this be allowed? If not, why should we hobble law enforcement's abilities to track criminals? If you're against this, are there other technologies that we should block police from using? Is it even reasonably possible that we can freeze the advancements of law enforcement capabilities over the long run, whereas it's simply a losing battle. So yeah, in case you haven't heard about it, this actually went quite viral. So I imagine a lot of people have like heard something about this in recent days. There's a company called Flock Systems or Flock Safety, I believe. And like we've had like license plate reader cameras and just like random cameras placed in different areas to like watch traffic before. We've had that. What they're doing is simply like aggregating this data and allowing it to be accessed by police of everywhere and everywhere, all without a warrant. And so there's big data being collected here, and there wasn't really a discussion with like localities like about should we institute this or anything. It just happened, and all of a sudden law enforcement has this tool, this extremely powerful tool, which they had a lesser version of it before, but we haven't had like a democratic discussion whether they should have this version, this massively expanded version. So that's what I really want to talk about. I want to talk about should it matter, right? Like again, we had cameras looking at cars before, keep a track. I mean, if you've ever gotten a ticket because you sped past a red light and an automatic camera got your license plate, right? Well, then you already experienced this. But this is just this on a much larger level. So should we people be upset about it, right? Is it just a logical advancement? Or has this broken through some sort of limit, right? And we're saying we should go no further. So I really want to discuss that in other police technologies. So I will go to our friend Lactoid. I'm gonna start there.
Yeah, I'm Lactoid. You can find me on Lactoid TV. I'm feeling pretty combative now. I don't know why. I think the topic got me kind of heated.
Women get you really upset.
Like especially because anyway, yeah, the prior topic got me. I think more heated.
A little triggered there, Lactoid?
A little bit triggered. Yeah, I'm pretty. This one I'm pretty torn on. So I'm gonna very aggressively take the fence setting position, I guess. And whoever can make the best argument, I'll just go over. Because on one hand, I'm like, yeah, kind of Orwellian cameras everywhere, kind of pretty fucking scary, pretty reasonable to be like, hey man, we shouldn't have the government watching our shit, man. Okay, I'm with you, I get it. But then on the other hand, getting your car jacked sucks. And if this helps reduce that, which my cursory research on the data appears to indicate that it does. And it would make sense that it does if it's finding stolen cars and giving us like kind of an idea of where they are. I don't know how effective it is at actually like a deterrent, but it does appear to be effective at least recovering stolen vehicles. And in public, you don't have a constitutional expectation of privacy in the first place, right? Like I can walk out in the road, I can see your license plate. I mean, the idea, the cops can see your license plate. That's what it's for. So, you know, on one hand, it's not super egregious to me. They're putting a camera on a public street in public, scanning a license plate that was made so the police can look at you and look what's going on. Okay, I understand that. But on the other hand, like this scale is kind of scary, and I can see why people are a little bit concerned about, you know, Big Brother.
Thank you so much. And Desolate Mirror, I think you're the first person to follow me on Kick. Thank you for that, Desolate Mirror. You're awesome. You're a Chad. Thank you so much for being so kind as to hit us up.
High IQ Chad. One and the same.
And high IQ Chad, right? Who must have a high salad because those things are correlated. Let's go to our friend Scott, who recognizes that we are short on time. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. Recognizing that we're short on time. Hello, Desolate Mirror. Welcome to Prime Kai's Kick channel and to Desolate Mirror and only Desolate Mirror. You can find me, Fabian Liberty, on YouTube and on Twitter primarily. Yeah. So in regards to the topic, I would say in the most succinct way possible, technology is good and government is evil. I am absolutely positive that this technology is a force for good. Like I can hate the concept of the government panopticon, while at the same time recognizing, if someone kidnapped my son or my daughter, I kind of would like a system when someone puts an APB out that 2 states later, their license plate gets tagged, 2 states away, and someone can respond and like get my son or daughter back to me, right? At the same time, the actual problem of this is that what we have done is, without actually increasing the state's power via legislation, we have increased the state's power to surveil and control us via the natural evolution of technology. And when you have a government where the police are not that popular, and they should be less popular than they are, and when you have a increasingly growing surveillance state where they use metadata to track people and find information about them in the hopes of being able to shut down speech and shut down people's ability to meaningfully resist against government tyranny, giving them more power and more technology is a bad thing. And this is just more reason why we should abolish the police from the state and allow it to be privatized, so that companies that are actually liable can be able to compete in the market.
Okay, thanks so much. Let's go to Upper Corey.
Well, even though I'm not as trigger as Lactoid, I too am a little bit conflicted on the topic. That's just because my gay show score is lower than his. But regardless, yes, I think privacy is really tricky. To Scott's point, in terms of with extreme surveillance, if kidnapping or child abduction rates go down or precipitously fall to like 0, I can see a benefit to that. But then there's obviously the con of like extreme surveillance, or if there's like this precipitous drop in overall crime. Okay, there's obviously some good there and value there. But then yes, maybe extreme surveillance. I don't know where the balance lies based off of the reading of the article. They seems to push it maybe a little bit to the extreme, but I don't know exactly where the perfect balance lies, or even if there is one. And I'll leave it there for now.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Ali.
I think 10% of these cameras end up helping solve crime or whatever the fuck it is. I think a majority of these cameras, all it's going to do is give people more tickets for municipal bullshit, so that the city or the state, the fucking evil state, can make money, right? If it's one thing that will make me a libertarian, it's I hate the ticketing system that's instilled by the cops. I don't think they should be. I don't think cops should or cities should be able to have cameras that catch you speeding, and then all of a sudden now you owe like just a $200 ticket, and then there's a point system and they can revoke your license. And then most of the fucking criminals that they're going to catch are just going to be people on bench warrants who maybe couldn't afford to pay their speeding ticket, and now their license is suspended, and now they have a warrant out for their arrest because the mafia, they couldn't pay the mafia that is the city and the state. So right now I'm a libertarian on the issue. Obviously, it's not reasonable for me to say fuck the police and that they shouldn't be able to have cameras, because I want them to actually do their fucking jobs and stop being lazy, fat, overpaid shits. But yeah, I just think this is a big money grab. It's just going to further. And then sure, some criminals will get caught, but I mean, like, I don't think it's due to it should be more because the police are doing their jobs, not because there's cameras on every single corner.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's go to our friend Socrates.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very happy to hear that there's some brethren in our libertarian friend here in actually calling out not over policing, but over authoritarianizing the state. We can talk about cops having constant, permanent surveillance cameras when we get rid of the fucking Patriot Act that we swore we were going to get rid of. Oh, as soon as we've won the war on terror, maybe we'll stop surveilling everybody everywhere in digital life. And now they want to do it everywhere in real life. We know what these are for. I mean, let's get real about this. There's 2 reasons that this kind of push is being made. One of them is to support the idea that there's some kind of insane crime wave that we need to have some kind of authoritarian lockdown to prevent. This isn't true. This is a lie. Crime is decreasing. Things are getting safer. The kind of hostility in the streets that can be increasing is from cost of living increases, SNAP benefits now being cut, maybe permanently, tons and tons of people losing the ability to just buy food, children not being able to buy food for your children. There's likely to be more people who will have to steal to feed their kids. And now there's going to be cameras automatically finding those people and arresting them and locking up people so that you can get more people in prisons, and the people who run the prisons will be able to buy, this nice private corporate system we have where people who run prisons can buy the politicians they like, and the rest of us have to live with the laws that they create. So this is just an authoritarian crackdown on what they see as a potential way that people might rise up if you destroy their like ability to survive in the world.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, our good friend Zealous, right? We didn't really need your comments about the previous topic. This is where we need you to step up. But thank you for being here, Zealous.
Thank you for having me.
You seem very low to me.
You seem extremely low.
Okay.
Well, she was speaking a lot during the last topic. We just never heard her.
Maybe she was.
Oh no.
I'm on my phone, so this is.
we can't hear you. You're super.
We were able
low.
to hear you last week pretty well.
Can you turn her up?
Yeah.
To 200%.
I don't know if I can. Let's
It's
see.
not going to be enough.
Well, I'm just saying you can control audio to some degree on your end.
It's not easy here. Let's try. Try speaking now.
Is that any better?
No.
You got max volume.
All right. It's probably just
try jumping in and out.
Or your phone's
Are you
speaker
using
function?
your
Is
same
that-
phone?
Yeah, I'm using my same phone.
Is your phone on speaker or is it like
Are you
it's on-
holding it with your hand and covering up the mic?
No, I don't think I'm covering the mic. Give me
Like
one
we can hear something. We know you're speaking, but like
second. Hold on. Is that
Oh,
better?
oh,
There
yeah.
you go.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Were you
Right,
holding
there
it
we
in your
go.
hand and covering the mic?
yeah. What were you
No,
doing?
I was using my Bluetooth. I was using a speaker because I feel like the sound reverberates.
Mm.
But okay. Well, there we go. For me, the service is definitely a big problem. I feel like it's just mass surveillance, which is a constitutional problem for me. I think that creating location maps and patterns of movement on people and storing that and just having it, and any cop can access that at any time for any reason. I definitely feel like that's a constitutional problem, and I don't know. I don't agree with it. I feel like we already are at the I feel like the line of what's acceptable with our police surveillance already, and I feel like this just totally crosses it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. All right.
Who did you think was
let's
going
just
to be
jump in.
police state?
Well, I was hoping Gibbs to be here, honestly.
Gibbs
I mean,
isn't
I'm-
here. I was about to
Gibbs?
say.
But to be fair, I'm pro like getting
There should
the
be
criminals.
autocannons too, shooting everybody.
Like I'm not convinced that like the concern with getting criminals is motivated by some kind of like only 8% of our prisons are for profit, private. The vast majority of prisons are like publicly funded at a loss.
How much money do cities make off of like honestly speeding tickets and bullshit like that, which is what I think we criminals, right? That's
Sure.
where all the money is coming from.
I mean, this is like the
Privatized prisons don't mean shit to
Yeah.
the fucking municipals.
This is probably a motivate. Yeah, I can see this going that route where this starts to get used and justified more of like tickets. Now,
Mhm.
I get the
That's all it
concern,
is.
but I think tickets are preferable to taxes. So,
Well, you have both. So like
well, maybe if we can
you-
like
you-
start
you have
funding the city more off tickets,
You have
then
the
we can reduce
taxes
taxes.
paying for the people giving you the tickets. It's a vicious cycle.
Well, it's a
See,
camera that does it now.
Well, I mean, we're still paying for the camera.
Yeah, is that cheap? Like, I guess I'll have to see an
You're,
actual
bro, you're not even a
cost-benefit
libertarian.
analysis.
Why am I talking to you?
No,
Scott, get
wait,
this guy
I
real
just
quick.
said
Get
the
this
tickets
guy
are
real
better than the
quick. He wants the
taxes. I don't
fucking
like
state.
taxes.
He doesn't care.
No.
Now it's a camera.
Okay, hold on. Let's take a step back from because I agree. Like, yeah,
You want to automate the state now, huh? You want to automate
ticketing
police?
people going 50 miles an hour over.
He's a socialist.
Like, yeah.
Oh my god,
like,
you are a socialist.
Whatever. But you would
No, no,
agree
no,
that
whatever. Whatever.
you would agree there is a valid interest at the very least. There is like a valid. The question here is, does it go too far? Because there is a genuine valid interest in I don't want my fucking car jacked, or if my kids kidnapped.
This isn't gonna do shit for your car getting jacked. Your car is gonna get jacked if it's getting jacked locally, to which the people are going to the chop shops immediately, and if not, the people are dropping the license plates if someone's smart enough to steal your car. Right, the people that are joyriding for an hour and a half, or dropping your car off in some alley, or they know exactly where they're taking your car. It's not going to get caught 2 states down because no one does that. No one's taking car 2 states out anymore.
I'm not saying
unless they kidnap a kid, in which case, yes, that very specific scenario. I'm glad we have the system, but for the majority of the time that the system's going to be used, it's going to be some fucking guy who has a bench warrant, and we need to get our ticket priced. They're going to take him to jail, or that's our tax dollars at work.
Hold on, it depends what the bench warrant's for, but from what I've looked into, it actually has been somewhat effective at like recovering stolen vehicles, right? Because you're right, the kind of the guy who's stealing the car, then taking it to a chop shop right away, and knows the routes to avoid these cameras or whatever. Yeah, probably not going to be super effective against that guy, but at the same time, like that might be effective perhaps at like triangulating where these shops are over time. It also, not all vehicle thieves are like this sophisticated. Very often,
the idea that we kind of know
method.
where the shops are. We just don't have the evidence to bust the shop like at the time. Right?
Well,
like you can know that a chop shop exists, but you can't just go in and shut the shop down.
I know, but if you have
more savvy than you think, maybe
there are some.
We're talking to me or Scott, or
I'm talking to Lactoid.
Yeah.
I think there are, just like I said, there's some pros that are going to be more sophisticated. I still think these cameras could probably help with like triangulating certain like chop shops, because by the way, you've had 80 stolen license plates go into your
how long have we been fighting drugs and we can't catch drug dealers in the streets?
First of all, we do catch drug dealers.
Their phones were being tapped, so like every drug dealer on earth was going to get caught. And yet the fucking streets are just filled with.
We catch a lot of drug dealers. We have a lot of people in prison for drug offenses. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and
I disagree that we should be enforcing that.
We still have a bunch of them, right? But we still have a bunch of them, right?
You're right. We will never be able to perfectly enforce every crime.
We have this high surveillance state to prevent drugs. We have this high surveillance state
to but there's still drugs.
But we don't prevent anything.
Why do we even have laws against murder? We've had laws against murder for hundreds of years.
And
there's still murder.
Okay, we got it. Okay, look,
I'm loving this.
And a lot of criminals, by the way, are not sophisticated. A lot of criminals, there's a strong correlation between low IQ and being criminal, right? There is
I just
a lot
meant
of these criminals.
Hold on, I just meant specifically with chop shops.
Well,
like the people that run chop shops are a lot better.
Yes, just like I said, yes, those specific like professionals, I would agree. Those are probably like the higher end kind of sophisticated criminals. I think a lot of car thefts are from meth heads, and like these people
you haven't seen a documentary called Gone in 60 Seconds. Okay, right? It was about this. It was about.
I haven't read Bell Hooks. I haven't realized this particular documentary. Why am I even on this page? I don't know nothing.
Like a newborn babe, right? Like just experiencing the rope for the first time. But no, so I think so. I understand. I built into this question, right? Like assurances, just in case no one was in favor of the surveillance state, right? Because like. Well, hold on. Because like
it's on the fence.
People will say, right?
That's
like, hey, I'm against, right? I'm against like internet companies like collecting my data. I'm against TSA, right? Like harassing me when I'm trying to go like across international borders, right? And searching my shit.
Another
right?
government agency.
Not Lactoid.
True. Yeah, indeed, right? People will say all that, right? But if you ask enough questions, right, eventually you'll get to a level of surveillance that they're okay with. And that's why I wanted to discuss, right? So like, is this block system too much, right? I obviously to think so. But again, we already had this on a lower municipality level, right? Like, should we not have, and this is an honest question, right? Should we not have cameras that for that show when you run a red light, right? Or speeding cameras or anything
Nope.
like that? Will we be better off about it? We might, and I'm curious what your responses might be. Like when police have new tools, like should police not be able to use tools that like search through social media for threats? This is a big thing, right? Because people talk about how Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson just did a special talking about the shooter who shot at President Trump last August, right? The one who almost hit him, right? And he like was going
Allegedly.
through allegedly, but he was going through his social media, right? Because we haven't heard shit about this dude. If you go through his social media, if you go through his YouTube pages, right? At first he's like extremely right wing, but then he has a hard flip to like extremely left wing, and it's weird, right? But he starts like making threats. Well, should the police have the ability have like data aggregation tools to comb through social media comments, right, to find these things? Do we want that? Maybe this could have been avoided. So yeah, go ahead, Scott.
So a couple of things. First, I'd like to say, based Ali, just one point of contention. You said obviously it's not reasonable to say fuck the police. I would just like to say it is perfectly reasonable to say fuck the police.
I meant in
Fuck the
regards to like
police.
policy. I can't just be like, well, you got to, just get it. Doesn't for the
Yeah, but
argument
you
doesn't
believe
really
in
make
laws, Ali. So how can you say?
Yeah, I
that?
believe in laws. I believe in laws, and I believe in
laws.
cops. Listen, I believe in laws, and I believe in cops doing their job right, like the whole spiel. What I don't believe in is the city or the state using these fucking laws just to have money grabs on its basic everyday citizens. I'll anecdotally. Listen, the law
then get rid of
is
the
there
speed
to
limits.
protect the law of the road is there to protect the drivers. If it's 3 a.m. and I make a right turn on a no turn on red while there's no fucking cars on the street, right? Yeah, I get that I broke the law, but you didn't protect anything. You didn't do anything. You didn't do your job. You didn't. All you did was mafia hold me and take my money.
It's
That's
really
all you
interesting.
fucking did.
It's actually really interesting that you brought that up, because if you've ever read Ted Kaczynski's manifesto, that's one of the things he actually talks about.
Yeah,
Right?
bro, it's fucking bullshit.
Is our continued subservience to technology and to the concept of order and rules from the state. And one of the things he talks about is being on an empty road and like obeying the red light. I think he's wrong, and the reason I think he's wrong, apart from all the killing and anarcho
Good point of
primitivism,
clarification.
is because nobody cares about that. What they're afraid of is a cop that they don't see somewhere giving them a ticket and punishing them for driving down the fucking road when it's empty. I just thought that was interesting. But just a few things. Lactoid, you kind of already mentioned 8% of private, prisons are private. It's 7% state, 16% federal. It's a little more than 8%, but it's 8% of the prison population is housed in private prisons.
Sure,
but
accurate.
essentially the same thing. Yeah. Private
Most
prison
prisoners are in
industry
state
is
prisons, by the way. The vast majority.
Yeah, 92% of prisoners are in public prisons, and most of them are in state prisons, not federal prison. Right. So it's like when Biden is like, I'm going to pardon all the people that are in prison for nonviolent drug crimes in federal prisons. It's like, cool, you pardon like 82 people in this country. Like, thanks. Because they're in state prisons. Yeah, I don't think that that's a major drive. I do agree that the private prison industry is a socialist system that we should get rid of, obviously, because it's a monopsony, right? There's only one purchaser of the product, and it is the state, right? It's not private, right? It's fascist. It's pseudo private.
Sure. Agree, actually.
Yeah, this concept
we all
of
agree.
tickets are preferable to taxes, Lactoid. I understand what you're saying. Here's why I disagree.
Because I can avoid it, right?
Well, yeah. Here's the problem that I have with that
Not
is
anymore.
that tickets are preferable to taxes in isolation, right? All things remaining equal, I agree that if we have laws that are designed to maintain order or to maintain that people don't do dangerous or reckless behavior, that they are preferable to taxation because it maintains that order and stability. The problem is that the more society accepts tickets as a form of taxation, then the more incentivized the state is to make more and more things ticketable offenses. And this becomes like a regressive tax on like just people
Well, the same logic with
attempting
taxes
to,
though too, right?
yeah,
Like,
well, I mean, they're it's just another form of taxation. They're both
well, that's my
bad.
point. Yeah, it's like a form
Right.
of taxation that I can avoid by not speeding.
Right. I'm just saying that like the more we support ticketing as a form of taxation, then the more they encroach upon what
Right.
is or isn't ticketable behavior. Right.
Let
Because
me
there's
clarify.
no real, there's no like moral law reason that you ought be able to make a highway have a 65-mile-per-hour limit and then give you a ticket for going 75. Right. Like
Sure.
that's not a moral thing.
Right. Let me clarify really quick. I guess what I'm saying is I agree that like and I guess to Ali's main point, which is like, oh, this is like a dumb law. I'm getting punished for this. I'm getting ticketed. This sucks. I get that. I think the solution here is to like get rid of these dumb laws, like make some exception where at 3:00 in the morning, if there's nobody there, then you can run the red light.
Yeah, but,
for
that's
motorcycles,
not what the discussion is. The discussion is, can we put more cameras up for these
right.
dumb
Well,
laws?
no,
Like, we're not
I'm
going
going
to
to
change the law.
I'm going to tie it back, right?
We just responded to my part.
Yeah, I'm also responding to Scott's. You're good. You're good. They did this for motorcycles, for example. Like for motorcycles, they're often not heavy enough to actually for the pressure plates to trigger the light to change in some areas that use pressure plates to trigger the light. And so in
They get fat.
States, well, you can get really fat and like cause it, and for some people that might work.
Get a heavier bike. Get a real man's bike.
A man's bike.
I got a very heavy bike, and it still doesn't sometimes. The solution to this is you wait 30 seconds and then you can run the light legally. Like that's they have a specific rule that they made to solve a specific problem because it was kind of dumb if you just had to sit there. Fair enough. Like I like when the law is creative this way, but like this idea of, well, if we just make tickets like if we encourage ticketing for behavior that's like speeding or other forms of perhaps like risk increases, this might cause the government to go further. True. That's a real concern. If we increase taxes, that might encourage the government to raise taxes further, which they do.
Yeah.
And for me,
yeah, I agree.
I am much more willing to disincentivize speeding than I am working. The income tax disincentivizes people going out and working and providing to the community, while disencouraging speeding, which I agree can be like kind of like a pain in the neck sometimes. Like, yeah, I just want to fucking speed. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
But like there is some strong correlations between speed and death, right? We should probably
Yeah.
like be careful about that.
I don't necessarily disagree with you to a large extent. I'm just saying you have to be careful of the incentives, right? And the more you incentivize them being able to utilize ticketing as a form of taxation, right? You're absolutely correct that good government, quote unquote, might see flaws and reduce their own income to make our life easier. It also could be true that they go, oh, well, if you accelerate too fastly or you change lanes too quickly or like California stops, now that you have like fucking now that you have cameras everywhere, we're going to measure whether or not you actually stopped at that red light for 2 seconds as opposed to 1.5 seconds. Things like that. You could, there's also a scenario where the more money they get from this, the more they may be encouraged.
We don't have to imagine that scenario. So if I'm remembering correctly, and this was a while ago, you'll see. I believe it was the town where Michael Brown was killed. I think that's his name. Way back when Hands Up, Don't Shoot. That one in particular, right?
That hoax.
The myth, yeah.
And yep. Well, we won't do it. Okay, but the point is that town. If I'm remembering correctly, if it was that town, they came under there's a term for this, where the federal government like reviews the police force and they put them under like what I'm talking about, where they put them under federal care, like federal control. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, whatever that term is, that town was under review. They did a study of that town, and what they did is exactly what our friend Scott was warning about. They use ticketing to fill in their tax deficit, right? And they did it to one part of the town, right? The black part of the town.
That's where the most money is, because that's where the most people are misbehaving.
So they suffered just a whole list of tickets, of unnecessary ticketing. And they use that to like pay for the courts. They use that to
Yeah.
avoid like
speeding more?
raising property taxes or anything like that. This is what they did, right? Like and because they could just like keep finding more ways to ticket people, right? There was no a reason to tax other ways, right? They didn't have to be
You're selling me
even
on it.
because I know you guys hate taxation, but they didn't have to be democratically accountable to their taxation, right? Their effective taxation.
Every ticketable offense that is not in violation of the non-aggression principle is just another form of taxation, right? Like if you're ticketing people that are aggressing, right? You know, committing property theft, damaging someone's property, you know, fighting someone, harming someone in some way, right? Like that's two
Driving too
criminal
fast.
organizations. That's criminal organizations fighting.
I get you. I get you.
Driving too fast is not a violation of the
I
non-aggression
get you.
principle.
Wait, why
I
isn't
It could be
Oh no!
definitely is.
No, Socrates, no, no. We can't do that.
85 through a kindergarten.
We can't. We want to stick on this topic, but like I understand your friend, and Scott. I am not trying to like push past your point. I'm just saying that. Like,
No, I'm just saying
yeah,
I'm against it. It's
Okay.
criminal. It's criminal extortion by the state
I'm not-
in
yeah.
another form.
I don't. Yeah, I would agree. Then I would agree. Then I would agree, and I would agree
Wait,
that it
speeding
was.
tickets?
Well, I would say that it was
Yes.
racialized.
Yep.
And the way that, and that's another thing.
There's
like,
a violation of the
I don't think
NAP.
it's something you address Lactoid because it's something you would never address. But like, I think
Because it's not a
that
real
the incentives.
libertarian.
I think the incentives. One second. I think the incentives when we're
Ali knows.
talking.
Everyone
about
here is
this,
becoming more libertarian except Lactoid.
Yeah,
hold
like they're
on.
just becoming more
That's
of
true.
a statist.
That's
You're a
absolutely true.
statist.
That's absolutely. Hold on a second. I think the incentives for what you were talking about, like ticketing in favor of taxation instead of taxation, is to ticket right the least powerful people, right? Like one or the other, whether they happen to be committing more crimes or not, right? Whoever has the least blowback on police, right? Like including like white men in rural areas, like rural towns. Like, yeah, I can fuck with these guys because we know the police chief isn't
It's
going
probably
to
a bit of
harass
both.
me over that.
It's probably a
So-
bit of both, right? It's
Less
probably
dangerous
a
to
bit
speed
like
in rural areas too.
yeah, I mean, it's probably a bit of both.
Well, they
right?
can
Like,
find other ways to
probably
ticket you.
it's probably in part because if you target low socioeconomic status neighborhoods, right, you're gonna have a small condensed area where you're going to find more crime, and so it's going to be easier to draw revenue. And at the same time, it's also probably true that these people have less power to affect change or to complain or bitch in a meaningful way. That like if you start going after gated communities for like bullshit ticketing offenses, motherfuckers are gonna
Very quickly.
start
Be
changing.
lawyers up the
Power's
window.
going to start changing hands quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll go to Corey's been waiting. I also want to hit up Zelos to see what she thinks in a second. But yes, please, Corey.
So Ali, I just want to maybe understand or clarify your position better. Like, are
Yeah.
you against these cameras like in principle, or just like how they're implemented, of like just like largely for tickets and just
How they're implemented. Obviously, if I could like trust that the city or like the police were using them in a way that was like, hey, we're actually looking for criminals and that's all we're using it for, and we're not just trying to like fucking extort our citizens, then like I'd be cool with it.
Okay, yeah, that's actually what I want to clarify.
Oh, okay. So I want to hit up Zelos, and so I want to know what your thoughts. You talked about like, hey, we should be wary of like having these like databases of information. But like there are classic examples, like on college campuses. You know, all kinds of crimes happen on college campuses. I remember we had on my particular college, you know, and I'm sure that on most of them, we had like a student police,
Like
force,
alert system?
not a police force. You know what I'm talking about, like a student, like community watch or some shit like that, right? And they would like go around and like look to see how people who might be in trouble, and they found people every so often in pretty awful trouble. But if those places were wired up, and if police could monitor it, right? Let's say, especially if AI technology gets better and we can tell when altercations are happening, right? Well, wouldn't you want that? A lot of people would benefit from that advancement, right?
I mean, yes and no. I feel like our rights shouldn't disappear just to make policing easier. Um, I think that we have a baseline already of our civil liberties and rights, and I think that it should be taken more seriously when we have things that like slowly encroach upon those things. You know what I mean?
But did your rights disappear, right? Because like in this case, we're talking about filming people in public. You can already do that, right? I can take a camera outside, start filming people, and it's fine. And so like we're just being doing more filming, but just the police could take a look at it.
Well, I think non-targeted surveillance, I feel like there would be pros to it. I think that there were things that it would prevent, but I also think that on the same token, the more comfortable we are like giving up our freedom for our safety, I feel like that's a huge problem. You know what I mean? I think that we have our baseline in order to protect our rights. I mean, we have I don't think that we do a good job at actually living up to it. But for instance, like innocent until proven guilty, I think that those things are going to make way for people who are not innocent to walk free. But I think that that's a consequence that we should be comfortable with in order to protect our individualism, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you so much. I'll let in my friend back to it.
I'm going to defend speeding tickets for a second. I think it's totally fine to like try to change
good,
laws,
doesn't it?
to try to change laws, okay, when they seem dumb or they're overbroad, or like, hey, it's 3:00 in the morning, why can't I make a left at this red light? Totally get that. Yeah, I'm in favor of raising the speed limits on highways. It should be 100. I'm
Do
fine
you
with that
season
too.
your boots?
He's also in favor of drunk driving as long as he passes.
Jesus. I am also in favor of a limited legalization of drunk driving. This is again like I'm perfectly. I want the laws to reflect a freedom maximalized society.
What
really
part
do.
of you is a libertarian, Lactoid? What part of you exactly is a libertarian?
literally
other than
just okay.
You want to do whatever the fuck
Ollie,
you want to do.
Ollie,
And you
in
want
this
to
conversation,
you.
libertarian.
The
Let's
state
go.
can affect
Ollie,
everyone else,
Ollie.
but God forbid it affects
Oh my
Lactoid. Is that where you're a libertarian, brother?
Ollie.
Explain this. No,
I'm explaining it. In this very conversation, I have opposed taxes. I'm in favor of raising the highway speed limit and allowing drunk driving to some extent. Like I'm
That's
confused
what
as
makes
to
you a libertarian?
I would
No
think those things are pretty
taxes?
fucking libertarian. Yes.
He's like, no taxes, but you could ticket the fuck out of everyone in the state.
Yeah.
True.
Look, if
Ali's
we're gonna,
ANCAP arc is based.
no, hold on,
Ali, let's go.
Ali, just so you're aware, when Scott says like Ali's
do you
ANCAP like
season
arc
your boots?
starting, like you can agree with Scott. Like I think ANCAPs serve a place. What you are advocating right now is
As
sort
in
of like
the head
it is
of
sort of
libertarianism.
anarcho-capitalist, right? This idea of like, well, all ticketing is bullshit. I've already made the argument that I think that if the state has to raise revenue some way, and I think it does, I want the state to raise revenue
Taxes
in
aren't enough of
ways
a
that
way to
have
raise?
no. I think it should raise revenue in the ways that are least detrimental, and I think that it's more detrimental to take a portion of somebody's work, like somebody who's out every day doing what they're supposed to be doing, as opposed to somebody who, I don't know, we'll make it the most extreme example. I'm going 85 and a 25 by a kindergarten. No ticket?
No, you stay a person in jail.
Oh,
what?
you want the big bad state to come up, put somebody in a cage? Oh my
No,
God!
because the guy
Are you even a
driving the car-
libertarian?
The guy put
Are you
endangered
even?
children.
He's not a
Yeah,
libertarian.
when you're
I feel like.
endangering children with a 2-ton,
Oh,
3-ton
does
vehicle
speeding?
driving
Does speed? Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't
you're
think a
right.
ticket
So it's
does
it's
anything. Ticket doesn't do anything.
No, it absolutely does. It discourages
nothing.
behavior.
Here's a
It discourages
$300
behavior.
ticket,
It discourages behavior that can lead to harm. If you're speeding, there's been scientific study. I shouldn't even have to fucking prove this. Going fast can lead to
Well,
accidents.
What are your scientific
You're only
studies saying about the
having-
amount
you
of people that get hit by cars annually?
A lot of people get hit by cars annually.
Maybe because the fucking laws don't work. Maybe because the fucking speeding tickets are the things
Bro, we should get rid of speeding tickets because some people still get hit by cars.
If every neighborhood had private security, they could
Oh,
secure their own fucking
no, you're
roads.
appealing. No. This is shameless.
What up?
Shameless right now. What you're doing right now.
Why am I giving
No,
you
you're
listen,
appealing.
if I'm
No.
gonna get a ticket.
Looking for an audience where you can find one.
4 or 5 months for some fucking for
Libertarian
a
struggle
ticket.
session. Let's go.
Uh-huh.
You're only being critiqued because you claim to be a libertarian, but then you
Yeah, you're the one who tries to.
But
hold
then
the
I
title.
support people getting tickets.
Don't
if
hold
they
the title if you can't
speed
defend
by
it.
kindergartens.
Don't
Oh
hold the
my
title
God,
if you can't
Lactoid's
defend
crazy.
it.
The
Don't
remnant
hold the
is
title if you
winning.
can't defend
Here.
it.
We're
I'll
preaching
defend
to
it.
the remnant, boys.
I'll defend it
Zyle
right now.
Zulu. Zyle Zulu.
I will defend it right now. When you get on the road, there's a certain level of risk that you consent to. The level of risk that you consent to is dictated by the laws in society around driving. There is a level of consent there. Is it perfect? No, but it's some level of consent. When you break traffic laws, you are, to some extent, violating the consent of all the other motorists around you that you put in danger. If you are going 25 miles an hour over...
The will of the people ass argument from a libertarian.
A lot of people, including myself to some degree, only get on the road because we get on the road with the understanding that somebody's not going to be going 100 miles an hour in a 15, or that somebody's not going to have like a blood alcohol ratio of 0.3.
So here's the thing:
there are some
people don't do that. The
expectations.
person who's going to do 115 is going to do 115 no matter fucking what. We're talking about the average
That's
ticket.
not true.
Where someone gets pulled over doing 85 and a 75 on the freeway.
If it was
That's what
legal,
we're talking about.
if there was no law against it, there are a
We're
lot
talking
more
about rolling
people.
a stop
if there,
sign when
if
there's
there
no
was
one on the road. That's not a
no,
fucking
Hey,
agreement.
real
that should
quick,
never
real
get
quick,
had.
have they ever done a study on that?
If there
Have
was,
they ever done
if there
a
was,
study on that?
that getting rid of speed limits raises how fast someone drives.
Reduces
the
speeding,
Autobahn.
Yeah. Reduces
the
speeding.
No. In the Autobahn, like
It reduces speeding and traffic collisions when you get rid of speed limits.
No.
Yes.
You're not breaking. You're not speeding if there's no limit
I
to break.
actually just looked at this the other day. The Autobahn proportionately actually has more accidents by how the traffic would suggest. And the people on the Autobahn do drive significantly faster than people who are driving on other highways in the US that have set speed limits. There are still speeders. I'm not disagreeing, but your average driver is going to be driving faster. Speed does raise the risk profile of operating a motor vehicle. It just does. You have a shorter reaction time in order to brake if something happens in front of you. If you swerve out of the way, you have less control of your vehicle. This is all just like basic science.
Gun ownership means more people are going to get shot, so it raises the risk of people getting shot. Should we limit guns? Our cars.
We have limitations. We have limitations on guns and weapons.
We have limitations on guns.
We should have some limitations on guns. Yes.
We should have some limitations. What limitations should we have on guns?
Tell me. Violent felons should not have guns.
I've always told you the way to defeat Lactoid is just to get more right of him.
I just answered.
He'll just back down.
I just answered.
Yeah,
I didn't back
the right
down.
from the right.
Whoa, I did not back down. I just said a restriction on guns. Violent felons.
What restrictions do we have on guns?
Violent felons should not own guns. Children should not own guns. There are certain levels of firepower that you probably should be like.
Why should anyone own a gun?
Because you can have responsible gun ownership just like you can have responsible car ownership. I'm not saying getting rid of driving. I'm just saying having speed limits.
So background checks for people who have guns, because mentally ill people should have guns, or no?
Background checks for people buying guns is actually one of the restrictions that I'm like most okay with. As long as there's not like some kind of depending on how they go with the database of it, I think it's probably fair to have some kind of background check. I'm amenable to that.
People who are buying guns or at least want to buy guns.
Sure, maybe not a list, but like a search of their background to make sure they're not a violent felon.
Yeah, but obviously there would be a list of people who have had their
mental.
background searched, and
No,
why
the
was
government
their
doesn't.
background
No,
searched?
the
Because they
government
wanted
doesn't
to
have
purchase a gun.
The government doesn't have to keep those lists, and in many places they don't. And it's a good maybe they
But
should.
the stores do and probably should.
No, the stores often don't either.
Don't keep.
And by the way, if stores want to keep track of things that you've purchased, they could.
Wait.
As a libertarian, I'm not against a private enterprise keeping track of its customers' purchasing habits.
If the stores didn't keep track, you wouldn't be able to purchase a gun from the people if there wasn't essentially every time you buy a gun, you're on some list.
Not
You had to get
necessarily.
checked, and there's a receipt of purchase, and there's cameras everywhere. There's always a way to track.
Yeah,
the
you're
fact
right.
that you own guns.
There is a way for them to track if you've bought a Milky Way bar. And
yeah, there is, and you're pro of this, and you're for this.
I'm pro camera.
You want more surveillance because your car might get stolen.
What I said is I'm on the fence because I am in favor of enforcing laws against crime to an extent. What I'm not okay with is the sort of Orwellian. Potentially, that's what the whole debate here is about. The debate here is about should we be having more cameras and to what extent?
Because of the car that gets stolen, why don't you just defend your car with your gun?
Because I'm not always around my car. Sometimes I leave my car in something called a parking lot.
Why do you live in a neighborhood where your car's getting stolen at that rate?
Anyway.
Get a better house.
There's a private
better neighborhood.
Here's the only argument that honestly has appealed to me thus far, has actually been made by Socrates when he brought up the Patriot Act, and this is why Edward Snowden is an American hero, and why the consistent American administrations that have shat on Edward Snowden are all unbased.
And he lives in Russia. I'm sure you love that.
Well, he had to move to Russia because he had to escape American imperial tyranny. Anyway, the Patriot Act it was illegal, right? Courts have found that the data collection methods they used were illegal. So as of right now, legally speaking, Edward Snowden blew the whistle on illegal government practices, not the law. They were breaking the law to mass collect data from American citizens, private data. We're not talking about out in the public street where you have no expectation of privacy. We're talking about private data that was illegal for them to conduct in the first place. And what the argument is, well, Lactoid, if we get to the point where there's cameras everywhere, couldn't a government that's already proven itself to be absolutely criminal in the way it conducts data collection to maybe start breaking more laws in terms of data collection there? Nah. Good argument. That is a good argument. It's possible, and that kind of endpoint there concerns me. But we have to have some level of criminal enforcement, right? I want police without a police state. I want cameras without a surveillance state. So
it's a contradiction.
I know. Okay.
No, so there's ways to approach this, which are one of the issues with the Patriot Act. It's not just that there was a lot of surveillance. It's that the even minute having to go to a FISA court, which was the warrants were almost always given, but that they didn't even have to go to a court to get a warrant. And the idea of there being cameras everywhere, even I think the most innocuous form is that to you it looked like the light was yellow, but to the light it looked like it was a red, so you're getting a $200 ticket. In a way, that's the most innocuous, because it's not like some feds busting down your door because they saw you near a protest 5 years ago or something, right? But still, the idea that it's just there's not even a person involved in some level of judgment, analyzing the context of the situation and saying, hey, this person was a danger to somebody somewhere. It's just an automated system that's just either gathering a huge amount of data that can be then used later, or just throwing out tickets to people. That's just it passed the automated flow chart and now you're getting a fine. To me, that's fucked up. Just automating every little bit of that, where there's not even an idea that we should have a warrant or a court involved in.
Can I add on to this just slightly? I just want to add on your opinion on this.
Please.
What would be your interpretation, Lactoid, that this could potentially be a violation of your constitutional rights by the nature that you cannot face your accuser in court if your court is an automated AI system?
There is no accuser. It's just
no. So when it comes to the way around this
in the spirit, not
sure.
in the strict legal sense, but in the spirit of the Constitution.
Well, okay. Well, in the spirit, I think it's even easier. Because
the idea that you should be able to face your accuser in court, but there's no fucking accuser. It's just a system.
Well, okay,
the robots are coming.
So there's the technical aspect, which I think you could probably get around by having an officer review it. But then there's the kind of in spirit argument, which I honestly think is a little bit easier because there's a video to review. You can face your accuser. It's this video showing you brazenly running the red light. And And again, I get the sort of, I guess, my
Brought to
understanding
you
is
by
as of right
Sora
now,
2.
it's automatically scanning the plates, but it's not like there's still a person behind the decision to like take legal action at that point, right?
For the moment.
Yeah, for the moment.
Mhm.
The concern is like, well, what if AI just automatically does that, and then if somebody protests, then perhaps they get like a human to review it, kind of like a YouTube
Somebody protests
channel
and they
deletion.
get cataloged in the system as problematic.
Yeah,
Tracked
exactly.
everywhere they go.
That's
Mhm.
that's a fair concern. When it comes to AI, like my
It's all a fair concern.
I guess there's a concern, but there's also a benefit to having AI do it. The concern would be, well, we kind of want, humans to have a level of discretion over these decisions. But on the other hand, if we're being real, like there is a lot of room for human error, especially with cops. And Prime, for example, brought up earlier where there's some concern about racial profiling when it comes to like how cops act, right? Now, this is a subject of wide debate. There's hit rate analysis, different crime rates in certain communities, et cetera. Like it's a big subject of debate. But like if you were, let's say, to set up just like an AI program that just I guess you would have to place it in the correct places, I suppose. But once it's running, if it just handed out tickets based on, look, you broke the law, you get the ticket, no discretion there. I mean, wouldn't that kind of solve the whole like racial bias
AI
allegation?
can be racist in ways that we can't even dream of, because anybody who's going to set this look, okay, so I do AI for my work, and so I understand the way that somebody who's setting this up for some fucking cop municipality is going to think is they're going to pull in stats from a database. Is, oh, well, what kind of things correlate with somebody having done this kind of infraction? It's going to be like, oh,
Spinning rims.
Spinning rims.
No, but
Spinners get tickets.
No, but
It's going to be like, oh, we've detected dents on their
Okay.
car. They're probably a bad driver. Like, there's
I get
actually
that.
a huge amount of it's pretty interesting to read, because you wouldn't necessarily think, like, what you said seems intuitively very obvious. It's like AI can do this objectively. Humans have all these biases. AI is so good at learning
The
those
AI is made
biases.
by
Well,
humans.
what I'm saying is it's based on the parameters that you give it, is what I'm saying. So like if you set up an AI to like, so scanning the license plates, right? And it's like measuring the speed of the vehicle, and it knows the speed limit of the road that the camera is set on, and it's like looking at the lights, and that's all it's doing. It's not like making any
Well, that
kind
would
of
not
like
even
thought.
be an AI.
That's not. Yeah.
That's just like a. Yeah.
Okay, well then let's just do that.
Okay, so I want to put out two extremes here, right? The first extreme is my olive branch, right? If this power is going to be implemented and there is no means of having liberty or being a real libertarian, and recognizing that you shouldn't have police in a police state, that you should have privatized property, is there any way that we can maybe work to constrain this to a certain degree? And by that, I mean, we can use these systems because they're here, but we put in, a legal barrier that says, these systems can only be activated in terms of search by federal authorities or local authorities that are
Who's got a
working
warrant
with
and-
federal authorities, or that you have to have a warrant to access this information so that we can use it for APBs, or like, kidnap kids and things like that, but that this system would be illegal for the police to use for, let's say, ticketing offenses and things like that.
Oh,
Like, could we constrain it towards the more egregious forms of crime that we're trying to stop, while also requiring some form of warrant so that police don't have unfettered access to data whenever they want it for whatever reason?
Yeah, I was gonna say that I think that there needs to be strict retention limits and still like warrant requirement for accessing like the data. You know what I mean? I don't think any cop should be able to go and look and see where you've been for the last month. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's just insane.
Yeah.
Well, the
Well,
problem
let
is
me
that you
double
don't
down
have a
on that.
reasonable expectation of privacy in public, and so there's no reason for a warrant, because everything that's being tracked here are things that you do in public, including, but
right.
but it's mixed with data that isn't, right? I don't think you have a reasonable expectation of privacy for the police to search you on where you've appeared on ring light camera footage, right? Like I think what is reasonable here to track your entire movements through the state is not the same thing as like me being on a sidewalk and getting photographed.
Yeah,
Right? Like there's
and I
something
want
different happening here.
I want to double then triple down on what was just said. One, like I think there's also a different sort of expectation about like just tracking when you're leaving home, right? Let's say if your private property, if maybe you have a bit of protection on your private property, that disappears at some point when you're filming everything, right? Now you know when they're coming and going, and sure, that part is technically legal, but like it feels a bit different to know when someone's in their home or not. And then to on
because the real topic, just to be clear, is on a system that makes metadata out of all this.
Do you guys want to ban private
Yeah.
investigators?
Well, here's the thing is because...
let me finish my point. Sorry, you want to say something else. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say that there's already Supreme Court precedents set in two major cases that already have deemed that long-term location tracking requires a warrant, and doing it is non-constitutional. And so basically, this surveillance is already crossing that line. They've already ruled. It was Carpenter versus the U.S. 2018. And it says that long-term location tracking requires a warrant because it reveals intimate details of a person's life and allows them to travel back in time and reconstruct your movements, and it violates reasonable expectations of privacy. And that's basically what this is. A license plate database is tracking your location 24/7, and that long-term tracking it definitely violates your Fourth Amendment rights.
To add on to her previous point, I think that's a good point too. I'm not aware of that case, but I'd love to take a look at that. But to add on your previous point, and to combine it with something our friend Scott said previously, talking about Edward Snowden. Or no, it was Lactoid said that. Talking about Edward Snowden. Like in the databases that they were creating, right, of people's like cell phones and like their conversations, right, like where they were accessing.
No one's gone to jail for this. No, none of it has been stopped.
Agreed. But in any case, the databases that exist. What they found when they did like an audit of this situation is that like law enforcement was doing the things that law enforcement does. They were using it for petty personal reasons, and so you found like law enforcement like tracking like their ex-girlfriends or their wives, right? To see like what they're up to. That's a thing that happens once you have this power to begin with. So even if we're talking about like public information, right, being able to see a person as they move across in the open world, right, that can be used for all kinds of private reasons that I think we understand intuitively can be corrosive and dangerous. But anyone else wants to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. It's that the intense amount of data that's captured, combined with likely cell phone data, social media accounts. When you scrape all of that together, there's a difference that we recognize, that you don't have an expectation of privacy when you're in public, and at the same time, stalking is also illegal or not okay. Mm-hmm. So there's a difference between if you're walking in public and people can look at you and see you, but somebody to follow you around and follow you home to your house and track your movements, at a certain point that crosses a line. And the idea of, okay, I'm in public, somebody might see me, somebody might see my movements, but tracking every single person and correlating that amount of data to reconstruct so much about their life is really far beyond the kind of capability that's ever really existed.
Yeah.
Oh,
at a certain point, it becomes
we've had talks. Real quick.
A PI, private investigator. Like I've hired people
that's
to do this.
But that's a guy following you to a place. That's not everybody
for days.
Like always.
No. This is a guy following you around, taking like minute details of everywhere that you've been for days.
This isn't like necessarily a good thing, and I don't think you should be. I know it's legal.
But wait. There's a huge fundamental difference, because if we're concerned about tyranny and authoritarianism, there are not enough PIs to follow around.
Well, yeah.
all the people, right? But there's
Yeah.
enough cameras and enough tracking.
Sounds like a
and
jobs
enough...
program to me.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, exactly.
Right. This is why, like I've been saying, it seems like a matter of scale. That's a good
Well,
point.
a PI is a reactive.
Glorified stalker.
A PI is reactive, whereas like
Mhm.
this is preemptive surveillance on
Well, not
everybody.
necessarily.
Yeah.
You can just
Not
hire someone to
necessarily.
follow a person.
Yeah,
No,
I can.
you can
I
fuck
could
for any
hire a
reason.
PI right now just to follow you around for days.
It's
Perfectly
if a stalker needed
A
a job,
narcissistic
this would be a
enough, that
great
sounds
job for them. It's just you have to
Yeah.
get certified to be this.
a
So
lot of creeps.
wait, Lactoid. So like the camera's giving you a ticket you seem to be fine with. So we already have insurance companies that ask of you to put like the little monitor chip in your car. Would you be okay if the state just instilled a bunch of those in everyone's car, and then that would give you the ticket if you went too fast on a road that it recognizes the speed limit is a certain way? It's a chip that's already in your car that it's tracking the data, right?
I mean, at that point, you might as well just put speed governors in every vehicle that can't
Well, it's
go
already.
over the speed
I
limit.
think that's
Why
already in
don't?
cars.
Would you be okay? Would you be okay with speed governors?
The only concern I have with
interesting
that
idea.
is there's like emergency situations that justify breaking the speed limit, and I think in those scenarios, like medical
You could contest it in
emergency,
court.
passing, yeah, like I think you should be able to like, I guess contest it in court.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know actually.
So I want to
Yeah,
do the
because
flip
that's the
side.
next step. By the way, just
Because
for
I
the record,
said-
that's the next step. Is like,
Yeah,
how
sure.
okay
I
are
said
we
it-
with surveillance? If we're okay with the camera on every corner, then we're going to be okay with the chip in every car.
Scott
that
said
was-
he has a second scenario, so I want to give him space to do that. After
Right.
that, Corey. Yeah.
Yeah, the first scenario was my olive branch, right? Like creating a warrant system, right? So my second scenario,
Time to burn
Is,
down the bridge.
yeah, I want to read a tweet, okay? I'm going to read a tweet. And this tweet is from Sigartis on Twitter, who's in Germany. He tweeted out and got 774 views, September 29th, 2025. No, every person who is financed by the state pays no net taxes. They live off taxes. Every civil servant, every politician, every employee in a state-owned company, everyone who is subsidized and financed by the state, not a single parasite pays any net taxes. So because of this tweet in Germany, he was woken up in the middle of the night by armed SWAT teams. They broke down his door. They made him unlock his phone at gunpoint. They took his computer. They took his phone. They took his DNA and blood sample. They took his fingerprints. And then he was specifically told that he was in violation of Section 130 of the German Criminal Code. And he was under state surveillance for his insulting of German politicians by using the term parasite. Now that's Germany. Germany doesn't have free speech. Germany is a fascist country, right? They're evil, just like the UK. To a larger degree than the United States is, of course, right? Like in UK, you can get community service and get fines for calling, your rapist, the F slur, things like that, right? While your rapist walks free, because anarcho tyranny, right? Now, you may say, well, but we have the freedom of speech in this country, so like that, we're good on that. But we've already seen our constitutional rights over and over and over again abused, and the encroachment of the state go further and further. And when it comes to the surveillance state, right? Like, even Donald Trump signed in CISA. And lest we not forget that when parents were protesting by going to school board meetings and saying that they didn't like the literature that was in their children's school because they thought it was sexual, the FBI made a special designation under the Patriot Act to track all of those people and their movements and all of their online communications. And so I understand that this technology is inevitable, the ability to track people to a higher degree while they're out in public. And I don't think that simply tracking people is a violation of anybody's rights. It's really about the intent behind the tracking that determines whether or not someone has like a guilty mind, right? A PI is not guilty of anything other than doing his job, whereas a stalker is guilty of, hoping
Not
to
getting
find
paid for those.
Well, no, a stalker.
It's an internship.
Right, a stalker that's a bird watcher is not a fucking is not doing anything aggressive, but a stalker that's hoping to find a woman, naked because or in a position
We call them
where they
birds
can abuse
sometimes.
them,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
right,
old time
is
way of
very
calling
different.
them.
Or
It's a
if you're casing a bank so that you can do a bank heist, right? Like you already have that guilty mind that information gathering is for a purpose. And so I would say that as this technology increases, we should be extremely wary of giving the state any portion of new technology so that they can utilize
give it
that
back.
What if a
as
stalker
means of
hires a PI?
Just lazy as
well,
fuck. I don't
again, it would be the PI in question would not be the one with any form of guilty mind, assuming they don't know the reasoning, but the stalker would.
Yeah, but if the
That's
stalker just
interesting.
did everything the PI would do, we could still be stalked. I've hired PIs. I think PIs
Well,
are kind
again,
of
it's the
legalized
men's
stalking.
it's the mens
I've
rea,
hired
right?
PIs,
Are
I've
you
used
are
them
you
to stalk
stalking
people.
them? Are you
Yeah.
stalking them? It's listen.
For a
It
good
can
reason.
be creepy, and you can think
I just
it's
want to
wrong,
know
and
where
I
this girl is
agree.
at all moments of the day.
Right. That's exactly. And if you're doing so that you can catch her in some
No,
compromised position or abuse her, then yes, what you're doing is wrong.
no,
But
I
if
just
you're
need to
doing
know
so
where she
just out of
is, okay.
curiosity, I would say it's morally wrong.
Excuse him to know
but
at
it
all
is not a
times.
violation of her rights. If you were a libertarian, you would understand the distinction between
No,
prescriptive
I
and
just
abusive
want to know where
If-
she is.
situations.
If you were,
I just want to know where she is at all times. I don't want to like catch her in a compromising position. I'm not like breaking any laws.
Socialist.
I just want
Sometimes
to
she turns her
follow
phone
her
off.
around for
Bullshit.
the next 2
Right.
years.
It's morally wrong.
Let's
Wait, hold on. Wait,
Yeah,
hold on.
I understand you don't understand the distinction because you don't know anything about natural law because you're a
I'm-
pretend libertarian.
I know.
Small L,
Wait, real quick.
small
This
L,
position you have right now is
lowercase
very
L.
tenuous, which is why you're like peppering in the insults because you know it's tenuous.
It's not
Explain
tenuous.
to me how a stalker who has the intent to do nothing more than what a PI can legally do, how that is any different.
Because when the intent is to engage in a crime, then you are planning, you are an outlaw to engage in that crime. The
just
stalking
because-
itself is not a crime, as you pointed out, by the fact that a PI can do the same thing.
No,
that is not a crime.
this is the horrific appeal to the law at this point. You're saying that
It's
just
not an
because
appeal to the law at all.
It is. You just said because if you intend to do a crime, that implicates some kind of guilty conscience. But we just talked about how the law is weird in that it's legal for a PI to
I'm
do
sorry,
all
I'm sorry. Because you're not a libertarian, you don't understand the
Small
difference
L,
between
lowercase.
law as natural law and crime.
Sure.
against
Okay. Well, let's talk about natural law
right?
then.
I'm
Explain to me then.
I'm not a legal positivist.
No,
and the
like,
fact that
fair
you
enough.
think that I am is hilarious.
Okay, legal, like natural law then. Why is it the case that a PI who has the intent to do everything that a stalker might otherwise do, but gets paid for it, how is that any different than a stalker who has the intent to do anything a PI would want to do, but doesn't get paid for it? What's the
Because there's
violation
no
in natural
rights
law
violation.
one way?
There's no rights violation.
Is there any rights violation for the stalker?
There's a rights violation for the stalker if the stalker is intending to find the victim to abuse them.
I just said he doesn't in the
Not around
hypothetical
go.
that I gave. I said in this hypothetical he does
Right,
not have the
and
intention.
that's what I said. And that's what I said originally. I said it's morally wrong, but it is not a violation of rights in that regard.
Then how
If
is
you
it morally
stalk
wrong?
someone, it's morally wrong from my perspective, right? Because this would be getting out of the domain of purely anarcho-capitalism, because anarcho-capitalism only shows ought-nots, presumably from the violation of the non-aggression principle. But there's a whole host of things that are morally wrong that are perfectly legally justified from ANCAP perspective, like prostitution.
Okay.
Stalking
So
would be
you
morally
feel the
wrong in
same
this
way.
because it's creepy, because it's a means that can make
And you feel the
people
same way about PIs.
uncomfortable. It's an anti-life position. I don't necessarily feel the same way about PIs.
Why
Right?
not?
I would say that because I think the PI is
Creepy sounds like
intending
whimsy to
gather-
me.
I would say that it's I know that you would say that it's whimsy, but we're no longer we're in the domain of moral judgments of which I'm saying you
Which
do
I need
not
to know
have the right
libertarian
to use
theory
the
to
state
figure out, apparently.
Like, well, you should. Yeah, you should do some reading
to
on
figure out
libertarian
your
theory
whimsy.
bure you call yourself a libertarian.
Yeah, I need,
we
I need
know
to
this is
in order to
objectivist
understand your
philosophy.
whimsy, I need to learn more about libertarianism. If
No,
what you're
I
saying,
think when you're
if what you're,
I'm talking about this. So you're in the domain of preference when you're in the domain of engaging and understanding things.
I'm
that
asking you what the
believe to be
basis of your
morally
preference
right
is.
or yeah, the basis of my preference is that it is an anti-life position, because I think it is damaging to the psychology of the individual that engages in stalking. I think that those behaviors can be transferable to other humans. I think that those behaviors can potentially lead towards abuse in the future if the person allows himself to go into fantasy. I think that it can make the other person feel uncomfortable. I think it can make people in public feel like they're constantly being watched, which then has an effect on their ability to engage freely in society, because they feel like they're under a panopticon, or that there might be a creep around the corner. There's a whole lot of reasons that I think
And
it could
all
be
that applies to
harmful
PIs
to
as well.
allow. I don't think that they apply to PIs in the same domain, because the PI is doing so under a neutral basis, that they have been hired to do something under a means of potentially finding something negative. Now, if they're doing so to like blackmail somebody, yeah, I would say that that's getting in the domain of negative. But if you're doing so to find someone cheating, right, then maybe that's in the domain of something that's morally neutral or positive.
Well, hold on. Can I ask one thing?
Well, a
before
stalker
going
could
to
be
Corey?
also stalking somebody for like some kind of like
Uh,
virtuous, like to make sure that somebody's not doing something either. My only point
Yes,
here is that
I agree.
yes,
But like when we talk about
sure,
stalker,
but-
there's a certain connotation.
and
So-
my whole
Because we're
argument
making a
was
differentiation
benevolent
between a
and
PI
my
and a
whole
stalker.
my whole argument is that I think PIs are essentially like paid legalized stalkers. The main reason why people are going to hire PIs, like in the civil litigation context, is going to be hiring PIs to figure out whether or not somebody's actually as injured as they say they are.
Right, but there's
somebody,
a problem.
Somebody who
And
says,
the
"Oh, I'm so
problem is
injured,"
that you're not
and so
differentiating the mind of. You're saying you're only engaging in the specific behavior, but not the mind or the intent behind the behavior. And it's clear that a stalker and a PI isn't the same thing. We have different words for them for a reason.
I understand. My argument is that we have two separate words. I understand, but there's like significant similarity to the point where a PI, somebody doing what a PI does but not getting paid for it, can fall under the umbrella of stalker. I'm not disagreeing.
Yes, the
there's
significant difference, however, is the state of mind, mens rea.
Scott, there's obviously like scales of insanity when it comes to stalkers. You can have like the crazy stalker who's like actually like looking in somebody's fucking basement window, or
Right,
like
but that's irrelevant.
stealing the
Let's
panties out of
go.
the garbage can. Hold on, but you also can have stalkers. You can have people like doing stalking behavior that we would all consider stalking. Like, again, if I wanted to know what's up with you, so I get in my car and I drive to where you are, and then I follow you around for 3 days because I want to learn more about Scott, and I'm really interested. Maybe I'll like find out some interesting things about Scott that like I can remember, or maybe talk to him about later, or talk to other people about later that might be like socially advantageous, et cetera, et cetera.
What does this have to do with anything that I said?
These are all things that PIs can do and often do when they get hired by people. There is no significant difference between a class of people that we would call a stalker and PIs.
So there's no difference in the state of mind between someone that was hired to investigate
Not necessarily.
an individual versus someone that is obsessed with
Let's
something.
go.
Not
to,
necessarily.
Okay, well then you're just being silly.
We gotta wrap
You're
it
just
up.
refusing to engage
Corey,
with the difference.
Corey wanted to say something, and let's wrap it up after that.
Okay, well, I guess on this topic of stalking, and so Blacktoid, I'm sympathetic to your position, and like as I mentioned, I'm sort of on the fence, but I lean more towards like this seems like a little bit extreme. But then like, how do you feel like to the actual extreme, like like either a PI just actually like literally using a drone to like follow someone 24/7, or like the state, and it's not cameras anymore, it's now drones with cameras following like an individual person or persons. Is that like permissible or legal to you?
It's likely legal, and it's.
And I should it be legal to you?
I think if you're going to have PI, I don't know if I feel like I'm torn on whether or not PI should even be legal to the extent they are.
Sure, I understand.
I don't see a significant difference between a PI.
Cops should be legal, but not PIs. What the fuck? What kind of libertarian are you?
Oh God,
He's
I don't really have a theory.
not. That
Apparently,
was the point of my argument.
I don't see a huge significant difference between a PI following somebody with a drone or a PI driving behind somebody and following them throughout their entire day with a camera on the dash, which is how they do it now. There's, in my mind, it's a difference of technology. One is higher up than the other one. I don't see a huge, like on an individual basis, a massive difference there. So yeah, I am really concerned. And one thing I just have to say, because I read it just while somebody was talking. I think it was Scott. the Carpenter versus U.S. matter that was brought up. I looked into that. It is an interesting decision because the court does seem to very specifically carve out like cell phone metadata as to where specifically your location is as a privacy interest. They do carve that out, but they make it very clear that this doesn't apply to basically anything else. This is like verbatim from the syllabus. This decision is narrow. It does not express a view on matters not before the court, does not disturb the application of Smith and Miller, or call into question conventional surveillance methods and tools such as security cameras, does not address other business records that might incidentally reveal location information, so like the purchase history, for example, and does not consider other collection techniques involving foreign affairs or national security. So the court here is and it's a 5-4 decision, by the way. The court here is saying this doesn't apply to cameras. We don't think that's a privacy interest in public areas. Any business transactional records, not necessarily, but cell phone data of where you've been is. I read through the syllabus. I think the argument's kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. But if we're just looking at this from a legal perspective, I don't think that based on that opinion, the court is going to say that,
the flock system.
The flock system is going to be a violation. I mean, they seem to be on board with the surveillance cameras. But I agree with you. It doesn't make sense why. If you're saying that cell phone collection of where you've been is privacy, in my mind, it would stand to reason that cameras would be too. But for some reason, the court's just like, nah, cameras aren't.
Let's leave it here then. I think it's a good place to end it. That was like super interesting. I think like even in our short amount of time, I thought we had like a really like fun conversation. And of course, my favorite part is when my good friend Ali bodied Lactoid. I mean, look.
Are you against speed
someone
limits
had
too?
to say it. Someone had to say it.
Prime, are you against speed limits too, Prime?
Hey.
Yeah.
Prime had a good day today because no one yelled at Prime, right?
Don't distract.
You also got $500.
Yeah.
Very good day.
So Prime will keep his opinions out of it, right? It's unimportant what Prime thinks. But I appreciate all of you guys. Are fantastic, and I love that energy out of my friend Ali. That was wonderful. But let's we're going to give all these nice wonderful people an outro. Before then, guys, if you've enjoyed this conversation, hit the follow button on whatever platform you're on, right? Too many platforms to list out, but follow the channel. I really do appreciate all who did. I think we really still only have one follower on the Kick right now.
I'm going to follow you.
That's
right
okay.
now.
Yeah.
I don't have a Kick account.
Right?
Sorry.
Yeah. And TikTok. There, right? All Prime Kai, right? Prime Kai all the way down, right? Brand consistency. That's how you're supposed to do it, all right? Consider helping out the channel by subbing and gifting bits, gifting subs, or whatever, right? If you've enjoyed it. But yeah, follow the channel. We're gonna have more of these great conversations. And like I said, I want to do stuff on TikTok. We'll have streams there. And last week, I was with Corey. We were streaming together. We were streaming on Dr. Gregory's TikTok channel, but I was also streaming here, right? I was restreaming that on the Twitch and YouTube. So stick around, be around for those conversations. I think it'll be a lot of fun. So consider following if you think that's all right. All right, I'm going to give an outro to all these great individuals. We'll start our friend Lactoid. We were a little rough on him today.
If there's anything left of him at this point.
If there's anything left of him. I love my friend Lactoid. My friend Lactoid is fantastic. And I love that he's always ready for the fight. No matter when it comes, no matter what direction it comes at him from. So shout out to Lactoid for being such a great sport.
Yeah, no, I don't back down. Fuck that shit. I will take on all of you, and I will take on anybody. And
Unless it's the state.
Even the state. Even the state, motherfucker. Yeah, you can find me at Lactoid TV on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. You're free to stalk me there. Please don't stalk me whether you're paid or not anywhere else. That'd be preferable. I'd like to keep all of the rest of that private. Yeah, if you like what I had to say, come check me out.
Thank you, CD_Unk, for following us on Twitch, and Corey Campbell following us on Kick. Awfully kind of you. Thank you so much.
I technically made your channel more accurate because before it said 1 followers, now it's 2 followers.
There you go. There you go. I appreciate that. And all man, look at the growth rate, right? Up 100%. So we're going to the moon here. Thank you to our friend Scott. This was a really fun topic. I think across like the entire from the beginning of the stream to here, like a really fun topic, and I really enjoyed your contributions today. So thanks, Scott.
Yeah, you can find me Fabian Liberty on YouTube or X predominantly. Please don't sub to my Twitch. I haven't been there in years because I say things that are too spicy for Twitch, and I don't want to get banned on Twitch, and then I can't come on these panels anymore.
Yeah.
Though I heard that there's like a difference now. Like maybe sometimes you can, like there's like the rules have changed apparently. If you like, you can be banned but still be on other people's streams or something. Twitch isn't that bad. They're just peddling prostitution to underage people and engaged in rampant censorship of people's opinions so long as they disagree with their woke politics. But other than that, Twitch is okay. Follow me if you want to find if you want to learn more about libertarianism. Libertarianism as is always against the state and for privatization of everything. Obviously would be pro PI, anti police, things like that.
Because you're a libertarian. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
If you were
makes sense.
If you were for the police state and against private policing, things like that. If you are part of the remnant, as Liquid Zulu puts it, and you would like to be preached to, then come on down and we'll have a good time.
Thank you so much. Our good friend Corey, thank you for jumping in. I think you enjoyed just watching Lad try to get bodied. So it was a good day for you too.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here, friend.
Thank you for having me. Always grateful to be invited and to be here. And I find it interesting that I can ask someone about what do you mean by natural, and then someone gets triggered, but then 2 people can spend 20 minutes hashing out the difference between PI and stalker. That's totally copacetic there. But yeah, you can find my Twitch, Corey Campbell 84, Twitter, X, YouTube, Instagram, Substack. It's Corey Campbell. And yeah, Zealous, Socrates, Ali, Scott, Lackwit. It was a pleasure. Love you, Prime.
Love you too, friend. Ali, slayer of false libertarian prophets. I appreciate you, friend. It was nice. I just always enjoy when you get pumped.
It's fun.
I thought you were going to get more pumped during the gender discussion. You barely say anything there. This was a guy you were
fake Muslim.
I had to say, I am an atrocious Muslim.
Fake Muslim.
I am an atrocious Muslim. I am a Muslim culturally, right? I am just born of the ilk, right? I defend my people, just like just for the fun, right? It's a good time. But this topic is something I actually really fucking care about. I hate municipal tickets. I hate speeding tickets. I hate stop sign. It's just so stupid. So stupid. So unnecessary.
You hate stop signs?
Ali, I've been informed. Yeah. Ali, I've been informed by my chat to answer your question. Do you season your boots? And I've been informed that white people do not season their boots.
You guys just eat boots raw? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy work.
Insane.
Maybe a little mayo.
I'm so sorry, Lacto. Just a little bit of bread, mayo, maybe a tomato, right? Just spice up
some
your
kale.
life a little bit,
we like a little bit of kale with our boots.
Kale with your
kale
boots?
chips on his boots.
Avocados.
Ooh, avocado.
Yeah,
boots.
thanks for having me on, Prime. It's always a good time.
Absolutely. Next, Socrates. Socrates, I'm really happy you're here. Socrates at first wasn't going to come, right? He was a little unsure of himself, right? Didn't know you'd have much.
I thought everybody would just agree on this, and I think we did. I think we got unanimous consent to.
Well, even then, you can still have
a
deep conversation, right? Like even them, like this is a really good crowd, and so we're good at finding something to yell at each other about.
Yeah, I mean, there was other questions in the prompt. What other technologies would you ban? I was thinking about stuff like I don't know if people are familiar with like area denial weapons. So police have things like there was a question if the
a gas, like noxious gas or something.
No. I'm talking about like there's a question if the police in Serbia used microwave weapons that would burn people at a distance. In the United States, police have things like LRAD, LRAD.
Yeah, sound weapons,
which is sonic warfare, straight out of Warhammer 40k, that can emit an ear-splitting noise that if you don't get out of it's like a laser of sound. If you don't get out of that area, you can become permanently deafened. So the idea that police can just like very cleanly disperse a crowd and violate people's constitutional rights to protest, which they're doing a lot of right now. So the thing that we didn't really bring up, which I understand we have different kind of political persuasions, we want to keep focused on the topic, but like we do live in a nation right now that is under attack by an authoritarian regime that is currently murdering people in fishing boats because they say that they might have drugs with no evidence ever presented.
Exactly what Lactoid voted for.
They're deporting people who speak out against wars that other nations engage in because they say that, well, maybe we might have some interest in that somehow. They're locking up American citizens via ICE, and police, more so than the army, have a very high infiltration of like white supremacist extremists. So the police are the ones that you need to be a little bit more wary of. There isn't the same kind of training. There isn't the same kind of vetting. And so just willy-nilly giving out a lot more ways for this force to just surveil people. Again, like with the Patriot Act, those are powers that were given that were never rescinded, even though we all, even like MAGA conservatives today say like, oh yeah, Iraq war bad, Bush bad, Patriot Act bad, and yet we still can't seem to get rid of this fucking law. And so the idea that we would just like give more authority to the state to just mass surveil everybody, and it's bipartisan. Bush did it, Obama expanded it, so it's not like this is just one side that's engaging. Everybody should be united against fighting against these like thefts of our liberties. So thank you. You can see me getting riled up about this in my my daily life. I'm a scientist. I work in cancer research. I have a PhD. So I also talk about science, and I'm really interested in philosophy. So thank you so much for having me. I came on because it was this group of people.
And I agree, Socrates. I agree. Trump is the most socialist president of my lifetime. We should do something like that.
That's why I like to vote for him. It all makes sense now.
So, Socrates, you have fun then?
Trump wins.
I had a lot of fun.
Okay, great. Right. So remember that next time you're feeling a little hesitant, we can have a good time here. Two, I know you had a lot of questions about ANCAPism, right? You should go and talk to our friend Scott directly. Let me assure you, he will not shut up about it. He will explain it all to you. And so
that's what I do. Yeah, it's the whole point of my channel.
And I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying, like, if you really want to do it,
advertising,
have a one-on-one. Yeah, I'm advertising for you. Yeah,
you invite me on, I'm gonna proselytize.
Wait, how much do you charge? Because Ayn Rand said any man who gives services for free is a slave.
Well, my chat mostly pays me.
Okay.
Okay. And three, you should come on the show that Corey and I and Dr. Gregory are doing. We're like thinking of having guests come on, right? But like I think you'd be fantastic, honestly, Socrates. You like fit exactly. It's called the Anti-Maha Headquarters. And
hell yeah.
I
that's
think
perfect.
you. Yeah. All right, yeah, we'll sign you up. So thank you so much, Socrates. And finally, last but not least, a new friend, Zealous. Great improvement, right? I liked your additions this week. Like honestly, like it was really good. You interesting court case. Got our friend Lactoid thinking, like he hardly ever does that, right? So I appreciate. I'm sorry, Lactoid.
I just hear the law and I just support it, right? If the law says it's good, then it's good.
That's simple. But thank you, Zealous, for coming on. Really kind of you. I know you had other scheduling conflicts and stuff, but still made it here. So I hope you enjoyed it despite how it started. I do appreciate
You guys were scaring me just a little bit, but I'm still here and I had a good time, you know. Thank you for having me, and
Wait,
I really
all of
enjoyed
us
talking
scaring
to
you, or
guys.
certain individuals?
Certain individuals for sure. Yeah.
You guys.
She means me. She means me, but
You
it's okay.
guys.
I like my
Certain
women
Black
scared.
individuals. Certain individuals, but
As long as they get paid for it, it's okay.
I had a good time. And thank you guys always.
Fantastic.
You
All
can find
right,
me here on Twitch at Zealous 777. But I'm hardly on it. Yeah.
I think I looked for your channel the other day, and I don't think I could find it. I'll look again. Maybe I was looking for the wrong one.
You know what
I
scares
think
me?
it's Zealous _777. My bad. It's
we
underscore.
know how women are with underscores.
Underscores, yeah.
right?
You sure it's not like
Yeah.
How many
equal or triple
underscores is it?
Bro, what is it?
Not
Hold on,
again.
What is that?
It's
What is
just-
it with women and underscores? Genuinely.
I don't know.
There's, there's something that is that women find attractive about underscores and usernames that men don't. This is
They got
this is
that
one of the
underscore
great
gene
mysteries.
going. It's the hormones.
Right, something,
At least
right?
to press the button, the underscore button.
I'm done. I'm done with you guys. Good night.
Zealous. I'll tell you about that later. Okay, all right. Look, I have a raid ready. Okay. Ali was
Do
busting
you?
my balls last time, so I'm gonna start a raid. Okay.
What's her name?
Her name is Buchibo or something. I don't know.
Ethnicity? 'Cause, wait, guess
yeah.
ethnicity, guys, real quick. Because
$2 from FQ. She said, "Hey." She knew she was being attacked, right? So $2 super chat from FQ. Shout out to you, FQ. Off of the raid.
Oh shit.
Go follow her at whatever underscore.
Whatever
Fair
underscore.
Queen with like 3 or 4 underscores.
3 or 4. Who knows?
Who knows?
All right. Ending here. Bye, guys.